Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. The Pistons looking to force a Game 7 hosting the Knicks. That's a 4:30 tip on TNT, True TV, and Max. Isaiah Stewart, a game-time decision for Detroit. The Pistons are 1.5-point favorites. Then around 7 o'clock, also on TNT, True TV, and Max. The Clippers, 6.5-point favorites, also looking for a Game 7. They host the Nuggets. Coverage of that game can also be heard on 910 ESPN Portland beginning at 6:30. The Mariners, 14-4 over their last 18 games. They have won each of their last 7 series. They sit 2 games ahead of the Astros for the American League West lead. Off today as they hit the road for stops in Arlington and Sacramento. Elsewhere, it is getaway day in the Bigs. Currently top of the 9th in Pittsburgh. The Cubs doubling up the Pirates 6-3. Top 7 from Tampa, or I guess it's actually St. Pete. The Royals with a 7-2 lead over the Rays. The Diamondbacks with a 2-1 lead over the Mets. That's the bottom of the 6th from Queens. The Guardians lead the Twins 2-0 as they head to the top of the 7th in Cleveland, They're in a delay in Cincinnati. The Reds with a 2-1 lead over the Cardinals. That's the bottom of the 4th. Bottom 3 in Chicago. White Sox lead the Brewers 1-0, and the A's with a 1-0 lead over the Rangers. That's top 2 in Arlington. And on the ice, the Winterhawks trying to avoid the sweep at the hands of the Spokane Chiefs tonight. Puck drops at 7 o'clock at the VMC. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
More, please. Golf in the Northwest with Jason Swigart is back. Saturdays at 8 a.m. before the Sinner and the Saint on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
Meringatang is going to be a thing.
You're not coining anything new.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
I'll throw some monkey sounds in there and call it good.
The old Danny Meringue pie.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
The Fan.
Good afternoon! Hey, welcome in. Happy Thursday in a very warm Rose City.
Quite nice.
81 degrees the high today is what I was seeing.
Love to see it.
You love to see it.
Did you see that they're panicking in England?
No. What? What are they panicking about?
84 degrees.
They'll get out of town.
Yeah, 84 degrees, and they're freaking out because they don't do that up there.
Yeah, dude. Everybody's just going to be walking around naked.
Yeah, I remember like last summer, I think it was, they had a heat wave.
It was
and
like
it was going to hit like, no, I don't even think it hit 90.
Yeah.
It was like mid-80s, and they had cooling centers around the city.
Well, they're lily white. Their food is boiled. They don't do any extreme, like their food is so representative of their culture and their weather. Like it's just so just bleh.
Even direct sunlight probably makes their teeth sensitive.
Yeah, right. Like
Yeah, you guys are really dumping on the British.
I mean, yeah, America.
Okay. All right.
Don't touch our boats.
All right.
You want some tea?
You. We're going to throw it back in the harbor.
Because now we're all high tea over here.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. I'm still waiting for that Uber driver to pick me up and give me the hell yeah, brother. Yeah, brother.
Oh, they're out there.
I know, and I want one. I want one desperately.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you see them pulling up in the Prius
Yeah.
or the Tesla,
Yeah.
although that might be changing now. But if you see those two cars are picking you up, you ain't getting that. Now, if you see the RAV4
You may
or
get
the
it.
4Runner,
Yeah.
you're looking a little SUV-y, then you might be down that path.
You probably got to have that Oregonian sticker in the back window.
Well, I've 2 Priuses that I've taken. Did not expect the adventure that I got in them.
Oh?
Yeah, Atlanta, Georgia, in the Uber, and I got a driver who was really, really into cell phone towers being listening devices.
Oh,
that was a fun one. That was a Prius, and I was like, did not expect this one out of you. You know, like the car rolls up, and I was not expecting paranoid, over the top. This is what the government's doing.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was fun because
did
you
he
play
give
into
you-
it and you
stoked that fire.
yeah, you start going, oh, tell me more about that. Like, I didn't know this. And, oh, let me tell you. But it's when they take their eyes off the road and they want to look in the back seat to make sure you following here. And you're like
Lloyd Christmas.
no, just there, road. But that was one. And then I had a InfoWars Prius driver one time.
Ooh, that's a weird crossover.
Yeah, man.
See? Did either of those guys like give you anything to like block signals with?
No.
Oh.
No, I just assumed it was already on the car. But yeah, those were the two curveballs from the Prius Uber drivers that I've had before. And that was. Have I ever told the first InfoWars story? We had in our very first house, we had a guy come to install our dishwasher for us because we had weird plumbing that needed like a handyman to do it. He spent 3 hours in our house doing this, and I couldn't get out of the kitchen at one point for like a good hour and a half, and he was just giving me all the details, and I was like, I don't
Want to leave you alone in my house?
Yeah, that's why I didn't leave. I didn't leave the kitchen. I mean, and he was in the thick of it. Like, and this was like before, whatchamacallit, the Alex Jones lawsuit, the Sandy Hook one.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like into the Sandy Hook stuff too. And I was just like, I don't know
The false flag
how to handle
craziness.
this. Because when they're in your home, that's different. Like
you
when
can't
you're in
push
the
the-
Uber drive,
you're
when
getting
in the
out.
car- when he's talking about the cell phone towers, that's a different level, right?
Yeah.
That's a different level. And you're just like, yeah, I'll egg that on. That's this is a harmless conversation that we're having. That one was not, and I felt
hard pass on that.
I did not like that conversation.
No, that one's up there with the 9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah.
Like those guys, I'm just like, I need to remove myself from this conversation right meow.
Yeah, but you can't when he's putting in the dishwasher in your house, because then you say something that makes him mad, and next thing I know, I'm replacing my entire kitchen because he's just like, screw this guy. I don't know how this is going to go for me.
Run one wrong wing nut somewhere, and your kitchen's flooded.
And I'm just sitting there going, I didn't know that, huh?
Sounds like the wrong wing nut was the one installing the dishwasher.
I was like, wow, man. All right. I just, boy, those are adventures that you can go on.
Let's keep it focused on the dishwasher here, bud. Let's make sure we're getting that taken care of.
Yep. Yeah. And that was far different than the Uber driver. And the InfoWars Uber driver guy, he was not, he wasn't that into it.
He was mostly harmless.
It felt like he was dipping into it, picking and choosing his spots that he was going to go into, which, whatever.
Look, I don't trust anybody
thing.
that doesn't believe in at least one conspiracy theory.
You know what? That's not wrong.
You gotta have a little bit of
LBJ had Kennedy killed.
Yeah, there you go. I'm okay with it.
I'm going to keep these to myself because, I'm just going to stand back. But yeah, I got my conspiracies.
Yeah. I
saw something on Twitter yesterday saying that there's some scientist who's saying that the government has the aliens have killed humans. And I was like, whoa, that's something. I'm not going to click that link because I don't know where that's going. Isn't that?
I don't want my computer to start smoking.
Am I the only one that does that too? Where it's like you see that headline, and even though it like may be from somewhere that's like credible, you're like, I'm still not clicking on that link.
Even though I really want to.
They may have been hacked. I am not going down this road.
I right-click the link.
Oh, you get the preview?
See the link address?
Yeah, you get the preview of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Anytime I'm like, let me go ahead and check this here real quick.
It's something.rus.
Yeah. Not today, Satan.
Yeah. Dang, man. Yeah, like this one says, I once had a passenger who was in the Birds Aren't Real camp. He pointed to a bunch of crows on a power line, said they were the government drones charging their batteries on the line.
I just, what?
Now, That's also one, though, is that guy may have been somebody messing with him, because I've messed with some drivers at times, you know? Like, you'll just be like, you'll go down that road and be like, hell yeah, brother, I'll tell you this one. Oh, man.
Look, do we probably have government drone pigeons? Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Here we go.
Guys, we tried to weaponize animals for like 60 years between the beginning of World War I and post-World War II.
A sea bass with laser beams.
Yeah, like
laser.
the Japanese strapped bombs to bats.
Yeah.
And like they hit the Oregon coast. So if you're telling me that like we have like listening to like I'll be honest with you, I know stuff we have listening devices in that would blow your mind.
Oh, hot damn. This is great on the fan text line. I had a Prius in LA with a driver named Cowboy Dave. 100% what you would expect. Yes. Dude, if Cowboy Dave picked me up, I'm in.
I'm guessing Cowboy Dave in a Prius, though, he has got some super, super short cutoff jorts.
In. In with Cowboy Dave.
Oh, this one's pretty good.
Maybe some rotating village people on the tunes.
I had a guy at the Hobbs game start talking to me about Space Force and how important it is when waiting in line for food. I didn't know how to respond, but he was passionate about it.
Well, you see?
Look,
there you go.
As a
wait, do they do that? They do the they do at the Hops games, they do the salute to service, which I think is really cool, where they do each branch. I can't remember if they do Space Force or not.
I mean, it's technically a branch now.
Well, yeah, it is.
Although the salute to service, the NFL draft, I don't remember seeing Space Force up there.
I don't remember that happening at the NFL draft.
So I
think Steve Carell was not available.
Well, they did it. They did it in the opening, and I even tweeted about it because I hate it when the Air Force is up there with the other services because we have zero drip. We have the worst looking dress uniforms of all of the services. It's not close. We have updated our battle dress uniform a dozen times.
Yeah. You guys kind of look
like bus drivers.
Yeah, I was going to say janitorial service.
No, we look like bus drivers. Yeah. That is exactly what we look like. And
actually, it is really close to the TriMet uniform.
Yes. No, trust me. It's god awful. I always hated because I would do things with other branches and we'd have to report whether it's for whatever. And I was with Army and Marines and Navy all the time. Marines, their dress is just okay. Come on.
Yeah,
come on.
They look great.
Army, great. Navy whites. Even the blues are great. You look a little weird, but the whites ours are so bad. And there's no tailoring that fixes it. Like I was in phenomenal shape and had that thing just everywhere it needed to be. No drip. None. There's no I'm gonna say something out of pocket here.
No way.
You want to know
after the birds aren't real? This is your disclaimer of I'm going to say something out of pocket.
when you are a young man in the Air Force and you are wearing your dress blues, and you see a woman in dress blues look unbelievably good, you know that woman is one of the most attractive people on the face of the planet.
Oh, I don't think that's out of pocket.
Because in order to look good in those, you have to be stunning.
Yeah. All right.
Stunning.
Well, now you know. Knowledge is power.
Again, every other dress uniform, that thing can be tailored. Not only does it can be tailored, it looks good to begin with. There's nothing you can do with those blue drape ass uniforms there's nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry for you, man.
It sucks, man.
Yeah.
That's the penance you pay. You get better air conditioning, better buildings, better food, better equipment, better everything, but you have no swag. None.
And I mean, of all the branches, like safer.
Yeah,
you
get all the perks. But the second they put you up there with everyone else, you are the like, what is blood doing here? Like polar bear in Texas, clown in the military groups. It just stands out. It looks bad by itself.
You guys are the wonky eye dragon in that meme.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not good by itself. When you put the other services around it, it's like, oh God, that looks so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. I hate it every single time.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, we got to do better. And it was like, oh, it's the history that goes along with it. No. The history sucks. Change the history. Change the history. Because we came from the Army. Army Air Corps was transitioning into, like, steal from them.
No, can't do that.
Yeah, we can.
Can't. No. I mean,
can.
actually I co-sign the.
Wow.
I co-sign the. If you guys get all of the other perks,
Sure.
this should be the one where you
We have
guys
to suffer?
have to suffer a little bit. Yeah. I mean, is it really all that bad?
Mm.
Everything else,
No.
you guys.
It is bad though. Like when you had to wear. I don't have to do it anymore, but I do always feel bad. Like when I see the young guys coming home for leave and doing their recruiting service, I'm like, yeah, definitely don't set up next to the Marines.
Yeah, but also, like everybody would just join the Air Force then,
Mm.
and nobody else would.
Well, you got to be
would
smart
get
enough.
anybody,
That's the
you know?
problem.
Well,
Higher level of standards.
let's not go there.
Just saying. I may be crazy, but I'm smart enough.
All right. Well, if this isn't any indication of how the show's going to go, I don't know what is. We will have a guest today. His name is Dick Girardi.
Hey.
He is a horse racing expert. The Run for the Roses, the Kentucky Derby. It is going down on Saturday. It's one of my favorite events because anytime my birthday is on a Saturday, it's Kentucky Derby.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because it's the first Saturday in May. And so we're going to have Dick Girardi on. We got a great field. I got to ask him about some of these horse names. Look, I don't know who's naming these horses, but two of the field consists of a horse that's the odds-on favorite, Journalism.
Yeah, there's a lot of arts degrees holders right now that are celebrating because journalism is back.
And then Publisher is another one. I don't know if I can get behind this. You know, what are we doing here?
Coming up on the inside gate is Windows 11.
I really do want to name some horse races or some horses for horse racing. It's a passion of mine.
You know what? Instead of buying your significant other like an acre on the moon or a star, you should be able to name a horse.
Name a racehorse?
Yeah, naming rights.
Well, I don't know if that's like the best compliment that you can give, though. You know, she's like, "Oh, so what, do you think I look like a horse?"
I think you're a winner.
It's like,
Why
no.
a long face?
Yeah, golly.
I think you're
That's
sturdy,
just
and if
mean.
you pull up lame, you need to be put down.
Dang! Again, wow!
Lord.
Wow! And the I'm gonna say something out of pocket was saved for if you see a woman in an Air Force uniform. And she looks attractive, that means she's very, very attractive. That's what you saved and used the I'm going to say something out of pocket for? Yeah. Golly.
Sorry, you got a little hitch in your giddy up. Might be time to put you down.
Jeez.
Come on back with me, honey.
Yeah, don't break your leg.
Ever seen Old Yeller?
Man, golly.
Oh, that one was the problem.
Yeah.
Dude, it didn't help, Jeff. It didn't. What I'm getting at is what you're doing is not helping.
Hey, you told me you really liked horses. Do you want to go to the glue factory?
Golly. Oh, dude. My horse got put down when I was a kid. My dad told me, and I believe this for far longer than I should have. My dad told me that my horse was going to, because I was like getting off the school bus because they were picking him up late. And they were going to put my horse down, Cisco, not named after the thong song.
No.
And my dad told me he's going to live on my friend Elmer's farm. Now,
Oh, God, how old were you?
I was like in kindergarten or first
Okay.
grade or something.
How long did it take you to figure it out? Like high school?
No, college. I was in college.
To
and
go
I
to
was
hang
like-
out with that wascally rabbit.
because I never I was just like, oh, all right. I never thought of it. I never
And then one
thought
day
of
just,
it, and
like,
then I was
popped?
like,
Oh.
yeah, that happened.
Perfect.
Dad
So
was ruthless.
yeah.
I just thought of like the worst possible way this would go.
Yeah.
If you name a horse after your significant other, like if you're about to get a divorce,
Hmm.
and you name it after a horse that like just went lame.
Golly. You need to be stopped. And right now is when I stop that. We are going to We got a lot that we got to get to today, including
So does Danny's therapist.
that's an evergreen
We're
statement,
working
Jeff.
through it, man.
That's an evergreen statement from this guy. Holy smokes! All right, we got some college football news and notes. Durden Sprague had
David Sampson.
David Sampson. I wanted to call him Simpson. David Sampson on today.
Samsonite.
He had a couple interesting comments. He talked about Portland Diamond Project. He's former executive for the Marlins, but he had some pretty interesting comments on the Portland Trailblazers. We want to revisit that. We have Ryan Day sat down with Josh Pate. Had a couple interesting comments on the college football playoff and their games against Tennessee and Oregon. But where we got to start, the NBA playoffs so hard last night. And you hate to see it. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Last night, the basketball, very hard. You know what you hate to see? You hate to see the Lakers losing in the first round.
And everybody talked themselves into doing it.
As the 3 seed.
Yeah, into winning. And it like you talk about, well, they have Luka and they have LeBron. It's like, yeah, they don't have anything else. And even in that series, when we went into it, I was like, it wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers won, but I think Minnesota's going to pull this out.
Well, I think I remember our predictions. We both went LA.
Yeah.
But the lack of bigs was going to be an issue for LA. But LeBron and Luka were just this force that pulled everybody in because stars usually do win in the NBA. And it was jarring to see how big of a difference that was.
Yeah.
And I really do think if they were almost to play almost anybody else in this first round, I mean, Oklahoma City excluded, they probably would have won that first round series. But
they're big as hell. I'm sorry, I said it backwards when I brought it in. We picked the Lakers, not the Timberwolves. Yeah,
but
we talked, as I said, we started opening it by saying we talked ourselves into this because those two can be so overwhelming.
What Rudy Gobert did, especially last night, it was unworldly.
They turned him into Wilt Chamberlain.
27 points, 24 rebounds, 9 of them offensive rebounds for Rudy Gobert. Second Timberwolf in their franchise's history to have a 20-20 game, and the other one, Kevin Garnett. But the way that he was getting the easiest looks of all time, it was Jackson Hayes was unplayable, and Jackson Hayes did not play in the game at all.
I mean, they brought Maxi Kleber back out there after not having played since January.
And right now, JJ Redick is getting a ton of heat because he didn't even try it. Like he was just like, I'm just gonna roll with Rui, and Rui scored last night.
Well, if you ever want to see what a coach thinks about players, see what happens in the playoffs.
And
they don't. If a coach does not trust them, they're not going to play.
He did not trust, obviously, Jackson Hayes. He did not trust Jared Vanderbilt either.
No.
And Maxi Kleber got 5 minutes run. But for all the heat that JJ Redick is taking, I look at it and I go, there's also purpose pitches that are sent to front offices. And it wasn't just by JJ Redick, because did you hear what LeBron said today?
No, I literally just pulled it up. I mean, the quote is incredible. Do we have the audio?
No, they played it on the herd, but we weren't able to pull it.
This is the comment from LeBron James as far as being a center. No comment, because AD said what he needed. He was gone the following week.
Remember, right before the trade deadline, Anthony Davis was asked about how they can improve the roster. I can't remember exactly what he said, but a week later he was dealt.
Well, look, AD has made that comment 11 billion times.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, like, brother, you need to toughen up, because the world of basketball for you is best when you're at the 5. That's the whole point. You being at the 4, this isn't 2006. Like, unless you've got Chet Holmgren alongside you, and he is, the 5, or Porzingis, where there's a true floor spacer and somebody who can take the pounding of being a 5, but like those guys are kind of skinny, so it doesn't really make much sense for them to be the 5. Like, you're not Evan Mobley, dude. You're not that, like, for AD's purpose. And like the whole idea of him not wanting to be the 5 because it's tough. It's like, yeah, that's the point, dude. That's what the money's for.
And that's also why people don't see you as Defensive Player of the Year, which he has complained about.
It's like, you don't want to do the tax. Like, it's not like, look, unless you're Jokic or Joel, it's not glamorous to be a 5 in the league. It's just not. And that's what you see with a lot of these guys. And you could talk about, well, everything should be about winning and da-da-da-da. We talked about this yesterday. So maybe 12, 15 guys in the entire league where everything is about winning, where it just does not matter. It's about winning. It's about your brand. It is about your legacy. It is about the money. It is about the touches. It is about your stats. The guy that sent them home in Ant Edwards, what did he say 2 months ago? I don't want to pass the ball. I score. Like, that's one of the new faces going forward of the NBA, telling you, like, he's not mature enough yet. Now, in this series, he seems to have grown leaps and bounds. But the whole idea of, like, how things fit together, and we should have been smarter about this, because the thing that Minnesota could exploit is the single biggest weakness of the Lakers.
And it was in spades. And there was not. This is why when JJ Redick, remember when they won the game, the one game that they won in this gentleman's sweep, and JJ Redick took the podium and he was furious about how it all went down.
Because the execution sucked.
And he knew that even getting that win meant nothing for that series because they didn't figure anything out. They didn't have an answer, and he knew that Chris Finch and the Timberwolves were going to have a counterpunch, and that counterpunch was going to be snatch your soul, get to the rim with your guards, and then feed Rudy Gobert. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly how the series played out, and that's exactly how it ended last night. And look, the Lakers, because of LeBron and Luka, they were able to get that thing close. They were down by 14. They actually took a lead in the fourth quarter, and then it just went kapooey after that.
Yeah, 16 points in the fourth quarter, and that's been the story of the series. It was their inability to do anything in the fourth quarter. I want to say that the Wolves ended up winning the fourth quarter, but something like 70 points overall.
I don't know, because Harlan said on the broadcast last night that it was 36 heading into the fourth quarter.
Maybe it was 50 points then.
I think I saw one thing too that said over the course of the series in the 5 games, the Lakers reached 20 points in a fourth quarter exactly once.
Yeah.
And that was 20 points.
And going into the fourth quarter, or going into last night, they had not shot over 30% in a fourth quarter.
And and I think they hit 100 for a game twice in the series. Yeah.
Here's the crazy thing. The rumor mill and the noise coming out of Los Angeles right now, LeBron's getting an extension.
Okay, let's talk about that, because I also want to talk about the Timberwolves too, because they won this series. It was a no-doubter. They won that damn series. But the Lakers are in a really weird spot as an organization. And Nico Harrison may have bailed them out by giving them Luka Doncic, but they still got problems if they want to contend for a title. We'll get to that after Rest with SportsCenter.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. The Pistons want to force a Game 7. They host the Knicks. That's a 4:30 tip on TNT, True TV, and Max. Isaiah Stewart, a game-time decision for Detroit. The Pistons are 1.5-point favorites. Then around 7 o'clock, also on TNT, True TV, and Max, the Clippers, 6.5-point favorites, also looking for a Game 7. They host the Nuggets. Coverage of that one can also be heard on 910 ESPN Portland beginning at 6:30. The Mariners 14-4 over their last 18 games. They've won each of their last 7 series. Now 2 games ahead of the Astros for the American League West lead. Mariners off today as they hit the road for stops in Arlington and Sacramento. It is getaway day in the Bigs. Top of the 9th in St. Pete. The Royals with an 8-2 lead over the Rays. D-backs 3, Mets 2. That's bottom of the 8th from Queens. The Twins and Guardians knotted at 2 apiece. They're headed to the bottom of the 7th in Cleveland there. White Sox 1, Brewers nothing as they go to the top of the 6th in Chicago. Top 5 in Cincinnati. The Reds leading the Cards 4-1. The A's with a 1-0 lead over the Rangers as they head to the top of the 5th in Arlington. And one final, just a little bit ago, the Cubs beat the Pirates 8-3. Seiya Suzuki with 2 home runs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
It's back. The 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club happens Tuesday, June 24th. Presented by your local Toyota dealers. Reserve your foursome now at 1080thefan.com.
All right, the Minnesota Timberwolves knock off the Lakers in the first round, 4-1. Gentlemen sweep. Lakers are gone. We hate to see that happen. It's just so sad. And I don't like this because now I like LeBron James and Luka Doncic, and I always have.
Yeah, I know.
And but in my heart, I will still dance on the grave of the Lakers anytime I can.
I was texting with a buddy of mine in the NBA, and he was like, "Yeah, you gotta love the Lakers going home." I'm like, I do, but like, this is difficult for me because like, Shaq throwing down that lob in that game caused me more conflict as a sports fan than any point in my life.
Yeah,
because I loved Shaq so much. It was like, oh God! Like I've said it before. Like I cried when that happened because what it meant, the Blazers not going to the finals and everything else. But also it was like it was a player that I loved.
Yeah,
and it's like with the
That
Lakers,
sucks.
you look at Braun and Luka, and I'm like, God, I love watching these guys, but God, do I hate the jerseys that they wear.
and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. They lost last night, and Minnesota moves on. And Ann Edwards doing a victory lap around Staples Center.
A literal victory lap.
It was one of my favorite things that happened.
Just talking crap to everyone.
And I hope more people do it. And especially in a game where it's... Are we not going to acknowledge the fact that the Minnesota Timberwolves shot 7 of 47 from 3?
They missed 43s. 40.
And they won comfortably.
Yeah.
And that is the problem with the Lakers and what they have right now, because everything was at the rim, in the paint, and they were easy looks that they were generating. And how do you fix that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I loved Mark Williams too,
The smiley
taking
face.
to Twitter and just saying, "Yeah, you want to nix my trade? Okay." Because remember, they had a center coming, and they failed him on his physical, and he kept playing in Charlotte.
Well, the realization was they were giving up so much for him.
So they failed him on his physical, and it came at the detriment of the Lakers. And
At least for this season.
LeBron did not seem like he really cared too much to be out there, especially late in the game. And really in this series, as the game wore on, you want to talk about why they're not scoring more than 20 points? Because it just almost felt like he felt the writing was on the wall.
I mean, LeBron wasn't putting his head down and going to the rim.
No. I thought when his knee buckled last night, I thought that was really bad.
Ooh. And
It turns out he really does love soccer.
Yeah, there's a group of people out there right now like, you think LeBron's done? I'm like, God, no.
Yeah, you teased an extension?
Yeah, so he's got a player option. The rumor mill and the intel coming out of Los Angeles is LeBron James is going to get an extension.
League minimum, of course.
What's going to be really interesting is, does LeBron see a chance at another title here with Luka? Does he finally do what he has to do here, which is give up a big old chunk of money?
Mm-hmm.
And he's not going to do that unless it guarantees them getting somebody.
This is going to go back to the conspiracy theorists, though. If it helps Bronny win a championship, then does LeBron do it?
Oh, not only that, there's the other part of this of like, if you think LeBron James is going to go out on a series loss with his tail between his legs without having a retirement tour, not only was LeBron James not going to allow it, the swoosh is not going to allow it. Are you kidding me?
No.
When LeBron James is finally going to hang it up, it will be a year-long campaign of ass-kissing that you have never seen. Derek Jeter will blush at this.
Yeah. How do the Lakers make this roster complete?
Luck, because nobody in the league wants to help them. After Nico gifted them Luka, every single team is going to extort a pound of flesh.
Except for whichever team folds and buckles and doesn't do it. I mean, it's
unless
one of the
somebody
most
really
frustrating
loves
things.
Austin Reeves. And look, it only takes one stupid team to be like, oh, Austin Reeves. Like somebody was like, well, what about Bam? Bam could go to LA. And I'm like, does Pat Riley love plucky white guys from the South that much? Like
Maybe.
Tyler Harrow and Austin Reeves? Good luck, brother.
Yeah, that's not what they need.
Good luck. So like the whole idea of them, like they went and made the deal for Mark Williams because they knew like what the deal was.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's gonna, especially right after that trade, nobody's gonna do anything. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be really interesting to see what that goes, because for those unaware, LeBron has a player option. That's what his deal is right now.
The Blazers aren't going to give up DeAndre Ayton for Austin Reeves, are they? Blazers need shooting. They're not going to do that, are they?
Austin Reeves, and Dorian Finney-Smith.
They're not going to do that, are they?
Here.
No, don't. Here's
my pushback on this.
I'm gonna lose my ass, because if the Blazers are the team that helps them,
I had this exact trade discussion this morning with somebody, and he mentioned the amount of side eye and hell that LeBron would put DA through would pale in comparison to what happened in Phoenix. LeBron would kill him.
they need a big.
Look, from a transaction standpoint, Reeves and DFS for DA.
You want to talk about?
I think the Blazers would have to do that.
You want to talk about the Nike conspiracy theory? That would be the ultimate one, in that Nike, being in Beaverton, has some sort of mole in the Blazers that helps the Lakers acquire a big man to help Luka and LeBron, their two biggest names
and DA
right now.
is a shoe free agent now.
Oh, okay. He's no longer with Puma.
Yeah, he's been rocking Nikes.
There we go again.
Yeah. He was playing in those. He called them the Go Berts.
I don't need this in my life.
The Rudy Goberts. He's like, I got me those Go Berts on.
Look, I've been so happy with the Lakers losing. I just now that popped into my head, I'm in basketball hell.
I'll tell you what, from a basketball transaction standpoint,
Don't.
That would be a win for the Blazers.
Help me, Jesus!
No. That'd be a win for the Blazers.
Don't, man. Just.
I don't even think those, like, if anything, you redirect those assets for something else.
Don't.
Wouldn't be
Would it
against
work in LA?
I mean,
It'd be better than it
I'll
is
tell you
right
right
now
now,
in spades.
Luka and DA is terrifying.
Yeah. No.
The Lakers ending up with the two, quote unquote, best prospects in the front end of that draft. 'Cause remember, they came in the same draft. It's like be kind of terrifying. And so very Lakers.
No. Strong no. Like, yeah, no.
Mm-mm. Nobody should help them, especially not Portland.
Portland's kind of helping themselves there, though.
No. Mm-mm.
Just saying.
I'm out.
Just saying.
I'm out. All right. Well, the Timberwolves did move on. And look, the NBA playoffs, if you're looking down the line at what could be on tap for us, dude, we have potential of Timberwolves and Warriors, which is also an interesting matchup with Gobert
And Draymond.
And maybe somebody's going to get choked out.
I tell you what, if the Rockets end up pulling, how hilarious would it be if the Rockets come back from 3-1 and Steve Kerr gets tagged with the Doc Rivers?
Ooh. Well, he's got championships.
Well, I know, but so does Doc.
Well, he's got championships. That was plural.
Okay, but still, imagine if Steve Kerr drops 2-3-1 leads.
Yeah, that'd be brutal, dude. That'd be brutal.
Hmm.
You can blame Steph's thumb on this, and let's get to that next. Danny Dusty on the Fan.
It's
You have angered the Bay Area mob. Fan text lines 503-864-6326. Danny Meringue. He wanted to compare Doc Rivers to Steve Kerr, and somebody is very mad. Did you really just say Steve Kerr could eventually be compared to Doc Rivers? I don't care if Steve Kerr doesn't win another playoff series in his lifetime or drops 431 series leads. He's still 10,000 times the coach Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is a clown. Rivers is one because of his players. Doc Rivers, not a good coach. I think he means Glenn.
Yeah, I guess all those titles that Steve Kerr won with lesser players is up. Oh, right. He hasn't done that without.
He did. He did it with lesser players.
When? Against the Celtics?
Yeah, man.
Who was on that team?
Don't pay attention to having elite shooting and
the best
elite
shooter
defense.
in the history of the league and
having one
generational defender.
Probably having one of the best perimeter defenders in Klay Thompson and one of the best defenders, period, in Draymond Green.
Yeah.
Positionless defenders.
Yeah. No. Definitely don't consider that.
I won't. But show me a coach who's won championships without great talent.
That's my point.
Yeah. I do think Steve Kerr is a phenomenal coach.
I think he's a great coach.
Yeah.
But like, I wasn't comparing him to Doc. I'm saying it would be kind of funny if he ended up pulling a Doc and blowing multiple 3-1 series leads.
I think Doc would be somebody who lets everybody know that.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
And we both won titles.
Last night, Steve Kerr and the Warriors did lose in Houston. So the Rockets hold serve, survive for another day. No gentleman sweep there. It is a 3-2 series lead for Golden State as they head back to the Bay Area for Game 6 tomorrow night. That looked like a game where willingly and knowingly Steve Kerr pulled the ripcord early and said, we're not winning this game. We know we're not winning this game.
There's 16 minutes left in the game. I don't think I've ever seen a coach do that in the playoffs. Like, again, it was a massive lead, but like, that's a lot of time.
Yeah. I mean,
Steph took his ankle braces off.
You want to get, I mean, the rule in the NBA is if you get it to 10 before, at the 4-minute mark, you're in the game and you can win. And I think that even, like, that may be even antiquated because, I mean, you can push that back because the proliferation of 3-point shot, you can push back to like the 3-minute mark to where if you get it to 10 within 3 minutes, you got a shot.
I mean, if you got 40 seconds, you can score at least 7.
Too soon for Bucks fans.
Sorry, guys.
Nah, they're not listening. But last night it really came down to Steph wasn't hitting. Jimmy, Steph, and Buddy Hield combined to go 3 of 14 from 3. You're not going to win very many games if you're the Warriors doing that. Well, I was surprised they scored 116 points with that.
Well, I mean, there were a lot of points scored with that. Deep benches that were on the floor.
Yeah.
As an aside,
great game for Moses Moody.
In a game that was just a complete sideshow, Cam Whitmore still didn't get on the floor for Ime.
Oh.
Again, coaches say a lot.
Well, maybe that intel that Kyle Neptune gave in the pre-draft process about Cam Whitmore might not have been all wrong.
It wasn't.
You don't do that to one of your players.
No.
But,
whoops.
Yikes. All right. What do we think of the fair or foul, Steph Curry's thumb being a target of Dylan Brooks?
I mean, not just Dylan Brooks, the entire Rockets team.
Yeah, but Dylan was obviously the one that everybody's going to look at because of his reputation, and he was going at it pretty hard, but any opportunity that they got, they were putting a hand on the hand and hitting that thumb of Steph Curry.
Yeah. Welcome to playoff basketball.
I was more surprised at the outrage about it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. It's not illegal.
No.
Look,
I don't like Dylan Brooks, but what Dylan Brooks said in the postgame of like, if my ankle's not good, I expect guys to attack me.
Yeah.
On the NFL side of things, if somebody's dinged up, you go for it.
Yep.
Now, look, you're not like, well, I mean, in the NFL, you do get some guys that tweak on an ankle, tweak on a knee, which I think does.
Yeah.
There's targeting, and then there's going beyond that.
I don't think what we saw last night was anything outside the lines of gamesmanship.
No, I look.
There's gamesmanship, and then
there's dirty.
Dirty,
yeah. And I don't think you saw like nobody grabbed Steph's hand at the bottom of a pile and cranked on it.
And look, Steph would be the first person to tell you if there was a situation that he felt was out of line.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, man, that's what happened. And like Steph has to say that too, because Draymond Green is that guy for them that does that to everyone else,
100%.
right? So I think that was being way blown out of
Did you
proportion.
see his finger, though?
But his thumb, that picture of him on the tarmac, if you haven't seen it, the Warriors social media team put out a picture of Steph, like they always do. He's walking from the team plane on the tarmac after they landed, and you saw his thumb. It looks like somebody shoved a golf ball underneath where his thumb joint is on his hand.
And he's been dealing with that. He aggravated it here in Portland.
Yeah.
The last game of the season. Or second last game of the season.
I don't know how that guy is shooting at the clip that he is with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, somebody in the Warriors social media is going to get in trouble unfairly.
Yeah.
Because somebody in Houston saw that photo. And because when he's playing, it's taped up.
Yeah.
You can't, you could tell there's something obviously wrong, but you can't tell the severity of it. That photo showed the severity of it. It's not good.
I wonder what's going on there, because it's not like a broken thumb, because he wouldn't be playing with that. But like it's the amount of swelling there is.
It's probably some ligament damage behind his thumb, I would imagine. But like, yeah, I mean that's the nature of the beast, man. Like, I get why Steve Kerr got out and pounded the table about it. Because he has to. He's protecting the franchise. That's what he's doing. I don't think it's weak, quote unquote, of Steve Kerr. Like, look, Steve Kerr got knocked out by his own teammate.
Well, that teammate was Michael Jordan.
But I mean, like I don't look at Steve Kerr and he's a little white dude who's not tough.
Yeah, Steve
Kerr's tough as nails.
Yeah.
Like, and so is Steph. Like that's not what this is about. Like, some people are like, oh, he's crying about it. No, he's protecting the franchise. You do this so that the refs are watching.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point. It's gamesmanship.
Yep.
But I don't think anything the Rockets have done goes beyond that.
Amen Thompson did a lot, though, last night, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention his stat line, and we'll talk more about this game as the show goes on, but 25 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 steals, 3 block shots. Mm-hmm. He was incredible, and he just basically had to do that to show everybody, no, I am still the best of the Thompson twins.
And
because Asur had an amazing game the night before in Detroit.
Amen. Like, coming into this series, like I talked about it, like how well he can. Like, you're looking for a player that can just run around with Steph Curry and make his life hell. Steph showed the young buck, you're not ready for this yet in the first couple of games, and you've seen Amen make the adjustments necessary. And last night he was phenomenal. Those 5 steals, got them all in the first half, in the first 16 minutes, and I believe 4 of them were just ripping Steph Curry. Just ripped the ball away from him and just said, mine.
I think it is really fun to see young talent thrive in the playoffs. And
whether it's Cade,
there's a lot, man.
Asar, Amen, Evan Mobley, Franz and Paulo, the next generation is showing up in the playoffs. And Edwards, like, the young dudes are making the leap. And like, you're wondering like where guys are. Like, everybody thought it'd be Ja and Zion. Like, no, it's this next group of guys that are showing up in spades across the board.
Well, it is great to see. We'll have more on the NBA and the playoffs coming up as the show goes on. But we got the run for the roses. The Kentucky Derby is getting underway from Churchill Downs on Saturday. And we've got a phenomenal field. And we're going to talk to Dick Girardi, who's been covering horse racing since 1986. For those not counting at home, that is 39 years in the horse racing game, and this is a big one. Bob Baffert, his 3-year ban from the Kentucky Derby is now over. He can come back and train. We got a great field of horses. We're going to talk a little Derby coming up next with Dick Girardi. This is Danny Dusty on The Fan.
Isaac
George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. A Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. The Pistons looking to force a Game 7 hosting the Knicks. That's a 4:30 tip on TNT and Max. Isaiah Stewart is a game-time decision for Detroit. The Pistons are 1.5-point favorites. Then 7 o'clock, also on TNT and Max, the Clippers 6.5-point favorites, also looking for a Game 7 hosting the Nuggets. Coverage of that game can also be heard on 910 ESPN Portland beginning at 6:30. The Mariners 14-4 over their last 18 games. They've won each of their last 7 series. 2 games ahead of the Astros for the American League West. Now they're off today as they hit the road for stops in Arlington and Sacramento. It is getaway day in the Bigs. Top of the 9th from Queens, the Diamondbacks with a 4-2 lead over the Mets. Those 2 Mets runs courtesy of Juan Soto's first 2 Apple Jacks at Citi Field. Top of the 8th, they're in a delay in Cleveland. Twins and Guardians tied at 2 apiece. The Reds lead the Cardinals 5-1. That's top of the 7th in Cincinnati. White Sox 4, Brewers nothing as they head to the bottom of the 7th in Cincinnati. Top 6 in Arlington, the A's with a 1-0 lead over the Rangers, and we got 2 finals already. The Cubs beat the Pirates 8-3, and the Royals whoop the Rays 8-2. The Winterhawks trying to avoid the sweep at the hands of the Spokane Chiefs tonight. Puck drops at 7 o'clock at Memorial Coliseum. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Portland, if you've ever wondered where to get your Blazers, Ducks, and Beavs, it's right here on the airwaves of 1080. 1080 The Fan with Danny and Dusty. It's Danny and Dusty and Rust from noon till 3.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Thursday afternoon. Thanks for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours, whether it's on 1080 AM, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, twitch.tv/1080am The Fan, or youtube.com/1080am The Fan. Party on, party people. Let's get it. What a beautiful day we have here, the first day of May. April showers bring May flowers. That's what we say here. Didn't really rain all that much in April, though.
No, it really didn't.
Felt like a good one.
When it did, it poured, but other than that, we were good.
All right, so let's head over to the Kentucky Derby because the Run for the Roses is happening this Saturday at Churchill Downs. And joining us now for a preview of the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby is Dick Girardi, courtesy of betonline.ag. Dick, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, guys.
Look, this is an exciting year for the Derby because, one, it's a great field in front of everybody, but there's a lot of intrigue around this because after a 3-year absence, Bob Baffert is back at Churchill Downs. What does that mean for horse racing and the Kentucky Derby, as he's a guy that he's had a lot of horses cross that finish line in front of everybody else, and he's coming off that 3-year ban?
It's a big deal because he's the most recognizable figure in the sport, right? I mean, he'd be like Tom Brady was when he was in the NFL, like LeBron James is for the NBA at the moment. He's the guy. So the fact that he's back is a big deal. And as you mentioned, he's won the Derby 6 times, which ties a record. And the reason he wasn't around is the time he had a horse finish first for the 7th time. Medina Spirit was ultimately disqualified for a medication violation. It wasn't like this was not Lance Armstrong kind of situation. It was not a performance enhancer, but it was not supposed to be in the horse's system on the day of the race, and that's ultimately what happened. I thought Churchill Downs overreacted, but for putting all that aside, he's back. Whatever was in the past is in the past. He's got a couple horses in the race, and it's good to have him back.
Yeah, Citizen Bull and Rodriguez, his 2 horses that he has in the race. And either one of them are odds-on favorites. But which one of those 2 do you believe is going to have the inside line to win or have a chance to win the Derby this weekend? Because You got Citizen Bowl drawing the rail, if I'm correct, right?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
No, you're right. He's the 1, and Rodriguez is the 4. Look, they're both talented horses. Citizen Bowl was a 2-year-old champion last year. He won the Breeders' Cup. Rodriguez most recently won the preparation to New York before you come to the Derby. So, I mean, they both have serious credentials. The problem is guys' running style. They have similar running styles. They're both front runners. They need the lead to win, and they're kind of lined up next to each other. So, and the post positions are kind of forced to go. You can't really wait around. So, yeah, you have the Wood Memorial winner and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, but I think they're both in just a difficult spot. It's not that they're not talented enough to win, but just the circumstances of this race, I think, is going to be working against them.
Dick, I'm a dumb man in so many facets, but particularly like, don't get me wrong, I like watching the events when they come up. You know, when there's a shot at a Triple Crown, I just
Sure.
I do not have the capacity to get that deep into it because like I said, I am dumb. Why does the Kentucky Derby matter so much? What about it is makes this standalone thing that everybody, no matter how dumb I am, I want to watch it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a couple things. One, this is Derby 151, right? So you're talking it starts around the Civil War. That's how long this has been around. So that gives you a little bit of an insight into it. I mean, it started after the Civil War, but in that era.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's been around that long and run continuously is obviously a big deal. I think it's a rite of spring, right? You figure, all right, it's the first Saturday in May. You've gotten through the winter. April, there were nice days. There were not such nice days. Now you're into the spring and the summer. So I think that's part of it. And the fact that it's fascinating because it's one of these big events that we have annually, right? The Super Bowls keeps getting bigger and bigger. The Derby keeps getting bigger. Now, my first year going as a fan was 1978, and covering it from 1987 on. It's fascinating just to watch how much bigger Churchill Downs has gotten. The racetrack, they keep adding new seats every year. They can't charge enough money. People will pay for it. They just want to be part of the action. It's fashion, it's food, it's drink, people want to be seen, and there's also a lot of money being exchanged, and horses with rich people, and some horses with poor people who happen to get lucky. Millions of dollars of purses, and yeah, it's all of that combined. It's just a scene, and if you ever get a chance to go, everybody should go once in their life.
We're talking with Dick Girardi, courtesy of BetOnline.ag, about the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby coming up this Saturday. Now, I had this conversation with a buddy of mine who went to the Masters this past April, and we were talking about the bucket list of events to go to. And obviously, the Kentucky Derby popped up in our heads as immediately that's the one. You've been going to derbies for a really long time. You've covered them. What is the must do when you go to the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, I think you need to get there a couple of days early, and if you can, and this is really, go on one of the backstretch tours early in the week. If you don't know somebody that can get you, and when I'm talking about backstretch, that's where the barns are, where the horses are. Just to kind of be there in the morning, just to see what the horses are doing, see all the media around, see the well-known trainers. You can actually almost be a part of it, which really doesn't happen in any other sport. So if you're there, try to get there a couple days early. You go to some restaurants downtown. There's a lot of neat restaurants in the Ville. People that don't know about Louisville, it's right on the Ohio River, right across from Indiana, and just maybe go like on what yesterday's race or today's races are, they call them Thursday at the Derby, and then tomorrow's Oaks Day. It's just a scene, but yeah, if somehow you can get yourself on the backside during the week, that's a really cool part of Derby week.
Is there anything in this Derby as it pertains to the lines that stands out to you? Not necessarily the winners or losers, but is there anything unique about this Derby? With you mentioned where you've got Baffert's horses that are front runners that are going to kind of change some things around. Is there anything different or unique about this field that we're looking at that's going to play a pretty large role in how these lines are kind of coming out as we get closer to the race?
Yeah, I think a horse like Journalism, who is the favorite, I think the story there is unique. His trainer is Michael McCarthy. He lives in Altadena, which unfortunately is one of the towns that just got absolutely ruined by the wildfires in Los Angeles. So he has not been in his house since January, and he's training the Derby favorite. So that's something to think about. That's unusual this year in the Derby. And I'll give you, I really like journalism, not just because that was my business for years. I like the horse. He's terrific. Nothing not to like about him. He's won his last 4 starts. He's won his only 2 this year. And one of the cool prop bets at betonline.ag is over/under margin of victory, and it's a length and a half. And I think journalism is going to win by a lot, so I'm going with the over a length and a half. In addition to that, if for some reason journalism doesn't win, and I really do think he is going to win, you get the other 19 horses too, and if any of them wins by a length and a half, you cash that bet as well.
What did the journalism industry do to get not just journalism, the odds-on favorite, but also publisher in this?
Yep.
Who's
How about that?
Who's buying these horses?
Yeah, that's amazing, right? So I'm not sure where the publisher name came from, but I know where the journalism name came from. The owner, Aaron Wellman, who's the majority owner of the horse, he was his high school newspaper's sports editor, and the mother of journalism was named Mopetism. So that's how he came up with journalism for the horse. But it is incredible that we have not just journalism, but also publisher in this race. Yeah, how about that exact? We have the journalism publisher exact. Does that mean newspapers are coming back? What do we got?
I'm so in on that exacta coming down. Look, one of my favorite feats in all of sports is the Triple Crown, though. And right now, betonline.ag, will there be a Triple Crown champion in 2025? Yes, 4-1, no 1-7. And obviously the odds are on no's favor because it's so hard to do. What amazes me is all of these races, they get longer and as the time in distance, but the time in between them is short in between. And it takes a unique horse to do it. Are there any in the field that you think have that Triple Crown feel about them? Because you need a horse that's fast and can do the sprint, but also a horse that has enough stamina to win the Belmont.
Right. So what you don't know is, because all these horses have been, and babied isn't the right word, but trained very judiciously up to this point, where they'll run once a month, once every 6 weeks. And she said, now you got to run 3 times in 5 weeks. So it's a complete unknown whether any of these horses can do it. Here's what, let's say journalism does win on Saturday and then wins the Preakness in 2 weeks. The thing he's got going for him this year, and it happened last year as well, the Belmont Stakes is not going to be run at Belmont Park. It's being renovated. They've torn down the old Belmont Park. So they're going to run to the Saratoga Racecourse in upstate New York. They can't run the race at 1.5 miles because of the configuration of the track. So it won't be that long marathon distance. It'll be the exact same distance as the Derby. It'll be 1.25 miles. Oh. So from that standpoint, it might be a touch easier, because that 1.5 mile distance, horses only run it once in their lives in the Belmont Stakes. American horses are just not, they're not asked to run 1.5 miles on the dirt. It just doesn't happen. So maybe from that standpoint, it could be a touch easier this year.
On the flip side of this, Dick, when you're betting the long shots, is there anybody on the long shot line, and you're like, hey, something breaks their way? Is there a horse that stands out in this group that could pull a major upset on this weekend?
I like Burnham Square, the 9. Journalism's the 8. That's actually my exact 8-9. Now, Burnham Square is listed at 12-1. That's not a super long shot, but he could go up. He could be 20-1 by the time this is over. And I'll give you another one that I know is going to be a long shot, the 3 Final Gambit. He's listed at 30-1, and he could go off at 50-1. If you're looking for some bombs to throw in there, and hope to catch Rich Strike Jr. here from 3 years ago when he won it 80-1. And I still haven't figured that out. He never won another race. He really done nothing before that. That's one of those where you just shake your head and you go, I have no idea what just happened here.
Can you put into kind of perspective, you said your first Derby was in 1978. Yep. And that's 5 years after Secretariat set the record for the Kentucky Derby. Can you put into perspective kind of how impressive that record is and the chances of it ever going down?
Yeah, I would compare it. to Tiger Woods winning the U.S. Open by 15 shots in 2000, right? It's just one of those things that's literally impossible. Not only did Secretariat set the record for a race that's not going to be run for the 151st time, he ran each quarter mile faster than the previous quarter mile, and that does not happen in horse racing. Horses may look like they're running faster at the end than the beginning, but they're not. It's an optical illusion. They're all slowing down. But yet Secretariat did the opposite. He came his final quarter in 23 seconds. On Saturday, the final quarter will be about 25 seconds, which is 10 lengths in horse racing. That's how amazing what he did was in 1973. 159 and 2/5. There's only one horse that's even gotten to 2 minutes in the interim. That was Monarchos in 01. And the only reason he did, the track was souped up that day. It was so hard and fast. Track records are falling all day long. It actually, at the time meant nothing, as it turned out. But yeah, Secretariat, one of one. Nope, nothing like it.
So you gave us your exacta. Do you have a favorite prop bet though for the Derby? BetOnline.ag has a ton of them that are out there.
Yep.
Everything from photo finish to the color of the horse and what they're wearing. What is your favorite?
So, yeah, the over-under a length and a half. I like the over a length and a half. I mentioned that. But here's a fun one. How about it's a great prop bet at BetOnline. Horse or rider name ending in Z. It turns out there's 6 riders and 1 horse, Rodriguez, ending in Z. So you get 7 different possibilities. You have the Ortiz brothers. You have John Velasquez, you have Nick Juarez, you got Brian Hernandez, you got John. I mean, it's a really fun bet. I think I said 7. It's five jockeys and a horse. So that's a really cool prop bet. You get any one of them, you win.
All right, Dick, I got to ask you this before I let you go because I've already forgotten. Yep. My dad and I were talking about this just last week, and when you mentioned Ortiz, he said, "Now there's 2 Ortizes running or that are riding." You got to get this. I've already forgot which Ortiz do I need to go with in the jockey that I'm betting on.
So Jose Ortiz is on the better horse. Jose Ortiz is riding Sandman, where Irad Ortiz. Remember we mentioned Publisher a minute ago?
Yeah.
Irad. Hang on. Sometimes I'd lose my mind. Is he riding? Yeah, he's riding Publisher. The only problem with Publisher is he hasn't won a race yet. He's still a maiden. He did run second in the Arkansas Derby. That's how he got his way in here. But, yeah, of the 2 of them, Sandman won the Arkansas Derby. So the Ortiz brothers, I would say Jose is on the better one of the 2. He's on the 17, where Irad, who's been the champion jockey in the country, I don't know, 5 or 6 of the last 8 years, he's riding Publisher.
Now, Jose Ortiz, he's ridden more than just Sandman in this race, though, correct?
Correct.
Over the time. That's something that people need to kind of look at. How regular is it that these jockeys jump around from the elite horses from one to the other?
All the time. Yeah, I mean, especially this time of year because they're hedging their bets, right? Unless they're on the obvious favorite, they're going to ride a horse, say, in a prep race in Florida. The horse finishes 5th. Well, they realize that horse isn't going to the Derby, so they're trying to get somewhere else. And it's only like the top 5 or 6 jockeys that can get away with this, where trainers go, "Hey, will you ride my horse? I'll get rid of this guy and I'll let you ride him." But yeah, they definitely are trying to put themselves in the best possible spot to win.
Dick, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the insight, and have a great time with this 151st running of the Kentucky Derby.
You got it. Thanks so much, guys.
That's Dick Girardi, courtesy of BetOnline.ag. I love the Kentucky Derby every damn year. But my dad gives me so much information. It goes in one ear and right out the other. He's like, "There's 2 Ortiz brothers you need to be on," and I was like, "I already forgot what you've told me." But Sandman, that's the Andy Hara pick of the weekend.
I'll add an addendum for mint and julep.
Oh, a mint julep.
There you go.
Have that to drink.
Yeah.
They're delicious.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's the other thing about the Kentucky Derby, like bucket list event.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying go to the backstretch tours, get there a couple days early. I'm saying go a couple days early, do that tour, and then go to the bourbon tours all around there. That's the heart of bourbon country.
That's the nighttime tours.
That's what I'm talking about.
No,
and then you could do the Louisville Slugger factory.
I did that when I was in high school.
You did?
Yeah, I went out there for a DECA competition and high school marketing competition.
Yeah.
It was in Louisville, and the two things we went and did is we went to the Louisville Slugger place and the Six Flags. At the time, they had the fastest suspended roller coaster in the world.
Look at that
So it's
town.
one you dangled from.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was cool. I think it's called the Riddler.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Those can F right off.
Oh,
man.
dude, like it was
love
crazy.
roller
Like when
coasters.
when your legs are just like all you've got is like this thing like reaching up underneath you, kind of cupping you, but yeah, no, that's yeah,
Mind
no,
stepchildren.
yep, you can grab that one for later.
Yeah, go ahead and grab
But
that.
like your legs are just dangling, and there's a spiral that you hit at like I want to say it's like 70 miles an hour. It's wild, dude.
Jeez Louise.
Oh yeah, it was wild.
All right. Hey, we got a couple college football news and notes that we need to get to. A college football whip around next. Danny Dusty on the fan.
Check out
Come and knock on our door.
Love you, dog. Love you, bro.
Been waiting for you.
All right, we got some college football newsies, notesies going on here. Yeah. Now, there is speculation as we've exited the NFL draft that we may have seen the last, but I'm not willing to go there quite yet because
Coward.
yeah, I'm not. Tyler Shuck was drafted.
Mm.
Everybody made a big deal about how old he was.
Yeah.
26.
I just saw a picture somebody posted online of him having a dinner somewhere in New Orleans with some old fellas and stuff. And Shuck's in the background wearing a T-shirt. There's this old guy in the front wearing a shirt and tie. And the tweet says, "It's nice of Shuck to take things seriously and show up in a shirt and tie for this event." This guy's like 70-something.
Tyler Shuck being drafted by the Saints is quite possibly the last player ever selected in the NFL draft born in the 1900s. The only reason why I'm not believing this is because we could BYU for one.
Yeah. Well, Cam McCormick exists. Could he get drafted?
BYU next year maybe. I think he's finally done. But you have BYU, and this is the other thing. COVID guys time hath run out on them, and then we could have another Brandon Weeden at some point in the near future, right? Remember Brandon Weeden went and played minor league baseball. I think he was 28 when he was drafted in the NFL draft. that's the only thing hanging me up from saying the NFL has finally crossed the last player ever drafted to be born in the 1900s. But that is a wild stat to think about. In the NBA draft, you probably won't have any. I tried to look it up for the NCAA tournament, and there was a shocking number of guys that playing in the NCAA tournament that were born in pre-2000.
They're not league guys. That's the thing. It's
No,
like,
yeah.
those are the guys that are going to stay around longer now as eligibility and staying in school and NIL and all that kind of stuff that are going to like form foundations for programs in college basketball around the country. Like you're going to have 23, 24, even 25-year-olds on college basketball rosters going forward. Like that's not going to surprise me at all. But like they're there to serve as the bedrock of your program year in, year out, the guys you can build your culture with and kind of plug and play, get minutes here or there. But like the guys that get drafted, no. I mean, like you're looking at the guys now, it's 2005, 2006, 2007. We're so far removed from that already. I mean, if you drafted somebody this year that was born in 99, they're 26.
Yeah, like Tyler Shuck, and he was this old man.
Yeah, you're not doing that in the NBA right now.
No, just look at last year's draft. Reza Shea, 19, Sarr, 19, Reed Shepherd was 20, Steph Castle was 19.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the NBA, we probably have already seen the last man from the 2000s or 90s,
unless
1900s.
God, I can't remember his name. It kills me because he's an Air Force guy. Went and served in the Air Force and then played at Florida State, but he didn't get drafted. He got brought in as a two-way. Now, we might get some two-way guys. Duop. Perfect example. Duop played 5 different leagues before he came over, but he wasn't drafted.
All right. So that's my first little nuggy note. The second is we've got Ryan Day went on with Josh Pate. Josh Pate's doing his campus tours around, and he was asked about when he felt both the Tennessee and Oregon games got away and they knew that they were running away with those games. Interesting sound here. We'll start with when he knew about Tennessee.
The Tennessee game is when we came out of the locker room and there was some orange in the crowd. And I think everybody in that stadium felt like our backs were against the wall, including us. And at that moment, it could have gone one of two ways. And our guys just went wild during the warm-ups. And I said, okay, at that point I knew we were in a good place. And then just the way we came out and played early in that first quarter, you knew we weren't going to be denied. And there was just so much pent-up stuff coming over those 3 weeks after the last loss. I mean, just an angry group of guys playing that way.
It is undeniable, which means it can't be denied.
The interesting part about that is, remember, Tennessee's whole thing was they just lost to Michigan. They don't belong here. We're going to sell out the shoe, and we're going to be, there's going to be more orange than red.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that may have backfired on them because that sign right there, and like, you can say it all you want. That's a motivating factor for young guys to go out and see that.
Look, there's plenty of coach speak and everything, but like, and yeah, you can write the history as the victor and all that kind of stuff. But you know this, like everything that's said publicly, it's window dressing. When you're talking about like before games or right after in a press conference, stuff like that, you know when you're on the field or if you're on the court, if you got a chance or what we're like, you just know your guys.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's arrogance, Ryan Day, at all. I think he looked around at his guys and saw the mentality and saw where they were and was like, yeah, it's going to be a good day, Tater.
A couple weeks later, they played Oregon in the Rose Bowl, and I think a lot of Oregon fans thought it was going to be a long day after the first possession. When did Ryan Day see it?
But then going into the Rose Bowl, now it's all kind of coming together here, and you get like a 10-day window to start to prepare, which is a great amount of time, I think, because as a head coach, you get a little more time to work on the X's and O's, which was a lot of fun, and we were able to tweak some things along the way. But we had a good friend of ours who was in the Navy SEAL, who we spent some time with, Clint Bruce, talk about how in hostage rescue, when you walk into a room, if someone goes right, you go left, someone goes up, you go down. And he was explaining, when things are all in motion and everyone's kind of moving in the right spots and everything is going together just right, he says, I would feel bad for the enemy, There was a point in that game where I felt like that was the case. Everything was just right. Everything was moving right. And you can feel that synergy as a team, in your preparation, your walkthroughs, the way we traveled, the way the guys handled the media. And then as we got on the field, you could just kind of feel that confidence.
Yeah, we're a buzzsaw, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's what transpired.
And that, to me, what he said there is the biggest change that they need to make in the college football playoff is he said that 10-day window where the advantage is when you play that game, you can get that momentum riding after the teams that are going to be playing in the quarterfinals. They're going to be riding that momentum of winning a game because they didn't have a bye, and you have that 10-day window. The whole rest versus rust, the momentum factor for teams is massive. And if you think about the way the NFL's postseason is, nobody's got a bye on the last week, which would be teams that aren't playing in a conference championship game but still make the playoff. Nobody has a month in between when they played. It is you get a bye week, and then you're back into game prep and game mode. If the college football playoff wants to get serious about the actual product of football, moving everything forward in the playoff, where, look, if you are in those first-round games, you got a short rest, man, even if you played in a conference title game. You got to go and you're back in the saddle again, and it's quick. Then you have the quarterfinal games are moved up, and so those other teams aren't at a disadvantage of sitting for a month because you saw that rust even by the teams that won their games that had a bye. That you have to work through some stuff.
No, the expansion of college football and the adding of the games, like there does come a point where the product suffers if you just try to compress everything. And I think that having that space and allowing those teams to have that space is the right way to do it because the product can be the product. And the thing about football that makes football is, in essence, the scarcity.
Yeah.
And how it's one and done and how it's all boiled down to one meeting. And if you just compress it all and you just smash it all in there, it just doesn't seem like it's going to work.
I mean, every team that had a bye lost. And some of them were trouncings. And, look, Georgia, they got a bye. They were without their quarterback. That game probably looks a lot different. Boise State played a Penn State team that they rode the momentum of stomping out SMU, and they just rode that right through. That game was closer until the end, but then you had Texas taking out Arizona State as well, and the Sun Devils were sitting there on a bye. That game goes to 2 overtimes to settle that one, but that was the one where it was like Arizona State, you had to knock off some rust before that game really got humming for them.
The month break, was it 23 days or whatever that was? Like that's insane.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about just having the I think if you don't have the previous just layoff, like it's not even a break. Like we talked about it with Oregon, like the amount of time that they had down was in how many days did it end up being? Was it 24, 23?
Yeah, it was something like
that. Like you can't stay in tune for that long.
It's hard to do, man.
That's too much of a break. I'm talking about just a bye week. Like that to me is fine, but the big gap that can't be there.
I think that there is a push to get that. I hope it happens sooner rather than later, because the top end teams are at a disadvantage. And look, the playoff seeding, as it's constructed right now, is flawed. That the whole conference championships, the very first iteration of it, conference champions getting that bye. Nobody thought that Arizona State or Boise State were 2 of the top 4 teams in the country.
No,
they weren't. So I found that really interesting. Ohio State riding that momentum. That team was so damn good, and obviously the NFL thinks so too. 14 players drafted off of that roster.
Pretty good.
Holy smokes, they were loaded.
It's a pretty decent spot to land.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's good to have that.
Yeah, having good players turns out useful.
Very.
Who knew? All right, coming up on our Worst Day on the Web, we got to meet one of these guys. There are 2 British influencers, Josh Caldwell and Jason Riley. They were out there in Washington, D.C. with us for the Army-Navy game. Great dudes. One of them, Jace, if you don't know who they are, they're British influencers that come over to America. They experience all the different cultures and things. There is a bit of a culture cross-up, to say the least. I'm just going to leave it at that. When you hear this, if you are of a certain age, you are going to be shocked, terrified, mortified, and probably laugh yourself to a point of like, oh, dear God, sweet Jesus, how did you allow this to happen? But first, here's the Big Kahuna with Sports Center Update.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Laurelhurst Market, Steakhouse, and Butcher Shop, a great spot for any occasion. And don't forget, you save 10% on your Butcher Shop order when you dine in. Menus and more at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on the fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the association. The Pistons looking to force a Game 7. They host the Knicks, 4:30 tip on TNT and Max. Isaiah Stewart, a game-time decision for Detroit. Those Pistons are 1.5-point favorites. Then around 7 o'clock, also on TNT and Max, the Clippers are 6.5-point favorites. Also looking for a Game 7, they host the Nuggets. Coverage of that game can be heard on 910 ESPN Portland beginning at 6:30. The Mariners, 14-4 over their last 18 games. They've won each of their last 7 series. 2 games ahead of the Astros now for the American League West lead. They're off today as they hit the road for stops in Arlington and Sacramento. It is getaway day in the Bigs, a pretty good slate of ball games. The Reds getting ready to finish off the Cardinals 9-1. That is the top of the 9th in Cincinnati. They're in a delay in the top of the 8th in Cleveland. The Twins and Guardians still tied at 2 apiece. The Athletics lead the Rangers 2-0. That's top of the 8th in Arlington. We've got some finals from earlier. Cubs beat the Pirates 8-3. The Royals whooped the Rays 8-2. Diamondbacks over the Mets 4-2 despite Juan Soto's first 2 home runs at Citi Field. And the pride of West Lynn, Tim Tawa, going yard for Arizona in the win. And the White Sox shut out the Brewers 8-0. The Winterhawks looking to avoid the sweep at the hands of the Spokane Chiefs tonight. Puck drops at 7 o'clock at the VMC. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
It's back. The 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club happens Tuesday, June 24th. Presented by your local Toyota dealers. Reserve your foursome now at 1080thefan.com. Time for today's worst day on the web. with Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Normally, I'd have just some long-winded setup for this, but you just have to hear it. So his TikTok handle, social media handle is Jason America. Again, this is Jason Riley. He's a British influencer. Good dude.
Wait, his name is not Jason America.
No,
it is
Jace
Jace in America.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he celebrates all things America.
Oh, good.
So, I mean, he, again, showed up at Army Navy and was repping the. I believe they split it. I believe Jason ended up repping Army, so he fell short in that game, which we all thought was going to win.
Yeah, they were ranked.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of an upset for the cadets, but you just got to hear him. It's absolutely bonkers.
I think the whole of America is laughing at me right now. I did a video of me drinking an energy drink, and I've been drinking this drink all week, every morning, right? Except it's not an energy drink, is it, America? And it was a pint-sized can of Four Loko. Yeah, that's right, Four Loko. I'm there thinking people are looking at me funny because I'm drinking a massive can of energy drink at 9 a.m. No. I've got all of America thinking I drink beverages at 9 a.m. I was 100% certain this was an energy drink. I've been drinking this drink all week. Every time I have it, I get a little bit of a head fuzz. I'm ready to crack on with the day. I'm there thinking, wow, this Four Loko, I've got to bring this to the UK. It's making me do the work in double the time. I've got people telling me to go to AA meetings. Now it makes sense. So if you were one of these people that saw me with a can of Four Loko at 9 a.m. first thing in the morning, it's not an issue I've got. It was just an accident, okay? I thought it was an energy drink. Yep, America, I am mortified, and I promise to start reading the labels a little bit closer next time. Now this explains why I was getting the shakes. I'm so embarrassed. Oh, this is a nightmare.
Yikes.
Thank God it wasn't an original recipe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is the thing about Four Loko, is that the original formula, that was
Toxic.
It was killing people.
Yeah.
It had an obscene amount of caffeine.
It was caffeine and taurine, wasn't it?
Yeah, and guarana.
Guarana, yeah.
Yeah, and then it
Also
had
the same stuff in like Red Bull and those things.
Yeah, I
right?
know, but it was like, if I remember right, I want to say it was like, wasn't it like 400 milligrams of caffeine?
That's
It was
a lot.
an obscene number. I remember right.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but then it was also like at 13% or whatever it was, where you're just sitting there going, "Oh my goodness, like 13% alcohol," and so it was just danger. It was danger in a can.
Oh, it was half that. Okay, so it was. There are two different sources here. One says 150, one says 200.
Still, is that all?
That's what I have in my energy drink, literally right here, right now.
And
it
that's
doesn't-
original formula.
Yeah.
That you looked up
Yeah.
there. By golly, it was.
But it's also, like you just mentioned, 13% because it's malt.
Yeah, it was just gnarly,
Ugh.
and it tasted awful.
Remember what we said opening the show about the Brits and the heat wave and how they can't really tell the difference between anything because all of their food tastes exactly the same, like nothing?
Ah, yeah.
When your palate is like that,
I guess so.
also, like, they aren't big on, like, malt beverages over there. They like
They're
their
not?
traditional waters.
They're not big on the Old English.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah, no. That and their, like you said, a beverage in the morning.
And
It's
what are
beer.
you going to tell me next? They don't wear London Fog over there?
No.
Man,
That's an old man.
Yes.
That's an old man.
that's an old man cologne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
Now,
yeah,
a couple of
London
things that threw
Fog.
me off, and
Yeah.
I don't know why. For some reason, when I first heard him say pint-sized, I thought, oh, it's a little tiny Four Loko can.
No, I mean,
and then
it's a
I went
pint.
pint-sized, like pint,
Yeah.
16 ounces. But that taught me to think of this. Why is a Brit referring to it as pint-sized, and why did the mind your P's and Q's start like with the Brits? Because the P's and Q's means mind your pints and quarts, when those are not metric units of measurement, which they use over there.
I got nothing for you. I'll tell you right now.
Is this a, this is the
Yes, Professor Hera, this is directed at you.
Yeah.
This is the quintessential Jeff Rust is mad at something nobody can explain.
I can just go full Gandalf and just go, you shall not pass. That's all I've got, man. I'll tell you this, like when you go over there, you ask for a pint.
You know what? Now
I get it, but why aren't you asking for a half liter or a liter instead of a pint or a quart?
I
That's
don't
what
know.
Petro's sold as.
they invented the foot, and not like on the actual anatomical appendage, but a foot was the length of the king's foot.
I'll tell you right now, the if they did invent the naming of the appendage,
They don't use that either.
I'll just say that, would it really surprise you if the Brits were into feet stuff?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
look, everybody.
That sounds like
those kinks are everywhere, man.
But I'm just saying, if it originated anywhere, I could see it on an island.
Oh no!
In the fog.
No.
Yeah.
No, foot fetishes definitely originate in like the south of France or.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Caligula.
I'm gonna go like Italy.
Scusi.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go Italy because it's a boot-shaped country.
There you go.
And so they were just into the feet, like the whole country is.
Have you ever made any mistake like this with any food or beverage or anything? Not necessarily to this point, but like. But
yeah, no, I made that same mistake that he made with. You remember Sparks?
Oh yeah, you kidding me?
Yeah, made that mistake with Sparks in college. Had no idea. Didn't know what it was an energy drink. I didn't know what it was. It was the first time I saw it on the Siskiyou Boulevard 7-Eleven, and I had a Sparks.
There was one a few years ago. It was called Science, I believe, but it was spelled with like an X at the beginning of it.
Science?
Yeah. And I would, every now and then, I'd have one of those as my chaser for the old, shots of good old Cousin Tito. And until one time.
A little up with your down?
Until one time, as I took a swig of it after the shot, I almost passed out. And I was like, well, I think that's about enough of those.
You were double dipping there.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was
you gotta chase your chaser.
Mine was once with the Sparks because I took a drink of it and I said, this is terrible. And then I looked at him and went, oh, well, I'm still going to class. And
I went the other way and went with Tilt. Tilt was the other one that came out at the same time as Sparks.
Yeah.
But we did it intentionally because we were going to get tilted.
Oh, yeah. No, I had no idea what any of those were. And then had one. Didn't know why I got carded. But I did. And I was fine with it.
That wasn't your first sign?
No, I just thought, I was like,
what's
dude,
up? This isn't Sudafed.
It's like, there's a lot of energy in this.
Can we stop with that, by the way? I do the
Thank all the meth heads.
Dude, I do the checkout. Sixth season comes up in the winter, and you buy the Sudafed or allergy season, whatever. And when I go to I'm bougie. I do the grocery delivery service because I just cannot be bothered to go spend an hour and a half at the grocery store. It's worth it for me to spend the money and not do it. But when I do go to the grocery store,
wait till you have kids. You'll love that time by yourself.
Oh yeah, well. But in that vein, there are times when you got to go get the ones and twos, like the little one-offs. And I go through the self-checkout line, and I need to get an ID check to buy my one bottle of Sudafed. And the little person over there running the self-checkout has to come over and scan and check my ID. It's like, what are we doing?
Look, you know what? I would rather have to show my ID for Sudafed than go ask a store employee to unlock the laundry detergent.
That's a big one. There was
laundry detergent.
We had to go to a Walgreens down in LA. Literally everything was locked.
Oh, you can go 4 blocks away to the Fred Meyer right here.
Was locked.
There is a section when you go in there. Instead of having aisles, there is a pathway about as wide as a door. There's shelves that block it off. Like all of the self-hygiene things that honestly that get stolen, like razors and hair care products and all this stuff. It is in a U shape. And there's a register as you walk in and walk out. Like it's completely self-contained. And
it's like the electronics section at Fred Meyer.
Yes, but it's with everything else, and it's totally self-contained. And even within that, it's still all locked up.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell, man? There you go.
And back in my day, they only would lock up the condoms. They used to be like the only thing that would be locked up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they would have them behind the counter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
You know where that was never a case? Texas.
Okay.
I don't know. You just like unlocked a core memory. I was like, you know what? Of all the things that were never locked up in the state of Texas.
That's a core memory for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why that just like popped into my head. I got nothing.
All right. Well, Texas. That's basically its own country.
You're not wrong. There you go. That's Brits exploring America. It happens. Well, speaking of, screw it, foreigners exploring America, what would it look like if the San Antonio Spurs went out and got the best foreigner in the NBA that is possibly available in Giannis Antetokounmpo? Yikes, dog. We'll do that next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. There are many just terrifying propositions out there as it pertains to Giannis Antetokounmpo and where he may or may not end up this offseason. He is going to be the domino this offseason.
No doubt about it, man.
Like, Kevin Durant is so far down that list, it's not even funny, and he's very high on the list. But where Giannis goes will reshape the NBA. Whether it's to one of the New York teams, to Orlando, to Houston, Oklahoma City, or San Antonio. The San Antonio Spurs, with Victor Wembanyama on a rookie deal, Steph Castle on a rookie deal, De'Aaron Fox on the Fun Max, and really no money committed anywhere else, have one of the cleanest salary sheets of a team that could potentially become a absolute juggernaut overnight.
We were going, and by the way, 37 draft picks in the next 7 drafts.
Yes.
So they're going to run into the Oklahoma City problem where they have more picks than they know what to do with. San Antonio was listed. We went over the betting odds for the team most likely to land Giannis, where Brooklyn, Houston, OKC were the top 3. The Blazers were at 7th. The Spurs were down at 25-1 odds, which was middle of the pack, wedged right in between Dallas and Cleveland. And that is interesting to hear that, Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report was the first one to kind of report, hey, by the way, the Spurs are kicking the tires on this thing. And the big, before the domino of Giannis falls, the lottery is 12 days from today. And that is going to be the one, because if San Antonio does not get the number 1 overall pick,
which, sweet Jesus, no.
If they get Cooper Flag, they're taking Cooper Flag. Game, set, match. Nobody's trading Giannis to San Antonio. But if they get the number 2 pick, you're telling me Milwaukee wouldn't want the number 2 pick right now on top of whatever they can throw in to go and get Giannis? Because Giannis is worth that to San Antonio, because if you could pair Wemby, Steph Castle, and then you're talking about Chris Paul too, terrifying.
Well, I mean, you saw De'Aaron Fox already get ahead of everyone else to go play with Wemby.
Yep.
That was a part of the calculus. Look, if you're a player that can steer yourself somewhere, like we were talking about with the Lakers, like teams not wanting to deal with the Lakers unless they get absolute prime value in return, which is why I don't think you're going to see a big name traded to the Lakers. Which again, I think if you talk about DeAndre Ayton, we jokingly brought that up. The reason the Blazers would do it is because DeAndre Ayton is looked at as a distressed asset and an expiring contract. If you were able to turn that into positive value, you do it. But if you're looking at the Spurs, because they have the clean cap sheet, because they have all these assets, they can go do a lot of things. They aren't going to be beholden to the rest of the league because they have stuff that they can give up. Beyond that, they aren't just limited to the free agent class of because you're going to see guys looking to chase and play with Wemby. Like I know that to be a fact. I've talked to players in the league that have told me flat out, if I had the opportunity to go right now, I would go. There was probably 15 different players that I know of in the league that are like 20 point a game plus scorers that were like, if I could get to San Antonio, man, I would. If I get to San Antonio.
Man, oh man.
Because here's the thing. Wemby is such a talent. If you tie yourself to them, you can get yourself into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like when I was talking about how guys look at stuff and their legacy, if you're a guy who's let's say like Jamal Murray had the locked-in mentality of just being a dude, and you get more of like what we see in playoff Jamal Murray throughout the regular season. If you were that guy on that team, you were a guy who's not just like a every now and then all-star. Wemby's wake is going to lift you up, and you're going to be an all-star year after year after year after year. And if you can do that, along with what the Spurs have been as an organization now for 28 years, you can make it happen. So you're going to see them. Look, the Spurs, they operate like a clandestine service. I had somebody tell me that had worked for the Spurs years ago that the Spurs are so tight about things that like scouts and like they have like people who watch film, they have cameras on the computers and they will monitor like where your eyes are on the screen and how much you're like, are you watching the film or are you just playing the film?
Was it Kirk Goldsberry?
Yeah.
Yeah. He tells that story quite often, like that, because he used to work in San Antonio's front office.
The director of analytics.
And now he's writing books and covering the NBA. Does a really good job. He's a fascinating dude.
Yeah.
In the way because he's a basketball guy, but also smart enough to do the analytics
I
part.
believe he's MIT or Harvard trained, but
very smart.
Geospatial analytics. So it's like the understanding of space and negative space and how you take advantage of stuff, which is very analytically driven.
But that's where the San Antonio Spurs have always operated. And where did Greg Popovich go to school?
Oh yeah, he was Air Force.
Air Force Academy. Yeah, I wonder where they're getting it all from.
Look, and they run it as a militaristic organization. It's not the Heat culture stuff, but it is Heat culture adjacent.
San Antonio, are they known for military outposts?
Yeah, it's where I went for basic training.
Yeah, it kind of fits everything with
Lackland
the
Air
Spurs.
Force Base, AIA, which is Air Intelligence Agency. You've got 3 different Army bases within 100 miles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it all makes sense.
But
if they get Giannis, game over. That is
you figure out the shooting later.
Terrifying.
You figure out the shooting. You would have the 2 biggest freaks in the NBA.
Yeah,
you would have the actual Greek freak, and then you'd have the French freak. And you're like, well, you don't really have the shooting. Like, I don't care.
Oh, by the way,
2 biggest physical mismatches in the entire league.
We haven't talked about this, but they also had the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Steph Castle. Which I would imagine Steph would 100% be a part of that package.
Yeah, having to go up to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Algonquin for the good land.
Well, if you're the Bucks, and let's say what you said happens, and they land number 2 in the draft, and you now have a restart with Dylan Harper and Steph Castle, plus probably another horde of picks.
It's a good place to
and
be.
And the necessary
right there.
money to go along with it. Like, the one thing there is, like, those picks, you have to be very particular about what you get, because you're not getting your own picks back. Because as we've outlined, the Trailblazers and the New Orleans Pelicans control the majority of the Bucks draft future.
Leverage in Portland's favor.
Look, I know people are going to be like, "Oh, okay." They do. Like, if the Bucks make a transaction, I would be stunned if one of the Pelicans or Blazers weren't involved in some capacity.
But there would be far more leverage if Portland had control of their own pick until 2028. Neil Olshey sending it to Chicago
with 7 years of protections on it.
The dumbest thing. Well, one of the dumbest things he did.
We don't have that time.
Oh, hey, Heiken has. I didn't see this. Tumani Kamara is going to be the onstage rep for the Blazers in Chicago at the draft.
Yep.
All right.
2 is a selection. Look, 2 deserves a little bit of profile here.
Well, I hope he steals the first overall pick.
Be great. Huh?
See what I did there?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, 2. The other thing we didn't mention, both Tumani Kamara and Denny Avdia both finished as finalists for Most Improved Player.
Oh, good.
I think it finished 8th and 11th or 8th and 12th.
All right.
Both got multiple votes.
All right.
Not too bad so far for the Blazers in award season.
No.
Getting some good recognition. A little surprising that Donovan Clingan didn't get more love for Rookie of the Year. I didn't expect him to win it, but I was a little surprised that I didn't see him up there.
Yeah, I'm not, just because he was in and out of the lineup on a team that was not very good.
Sure.
But I think anybody that watched him, they understood he was in a rookie class that did not shine.
Mm-hmm.
He has some juice to him.
And a little bit later today or tomorrow, the first real mock drafts are starting to come out with some intel on some guys. We can dive into that as well.
I think it's far too early for that.
Well, I'm just going to
mock draft. We don't even know where they're picking.
I'm just going to say there's a name on there that's for the Blazers from 2 different people that are plugged in that was a bit surprising. So
the lottery, it hasn't even been done. They could be anywhere from 1 to 13.
1 through 4, 9 through 13. Yes. But with that, getting into hour number 3, there's a little bit of a discussion I want to have that's currently kind of overtaking the NBA. Is it more important to have the strongest link on a team, the best player in a series, or is it more important to not have the weakest links?
Boy.
There's a real shift in the NBA that is happening right before our eyes, and I think it's really interesting to dive into. We'll do that next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on the Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the association. The Pistons looking to force a Game 7. They host the Knicks, 4:30 tip on TNT and Max. Isaiah Stewart, a game-time decision for Detroit. The Pistons are 1.5-point favorites. Then, around 7 o'clock, also on TNT and Max, the Clippers, 6.5-point favorites. They're looking for a Game 7 and host the Nuggets. Coverage of that game can be heard on 910 ESPN Portland starting at 6:30. The Mariners have won 14 of their last 18 games and each of their last 7 series. They sit 2 games ahead of the Astros for the American League West lead. Off today as they hit the road for stops in Arlington and Sacramento. It's getaway day in the Bigs, but there is only still one game technically still in action. Top of the 8th in Cleveland. They are in a weather delay with the Twins and Guardians knotted at 2 apiece. The finals from earlier, Cubs beat the Pirates 8-3. Royals whooped the Rays 8-2. Diamondbacks over the Mets 4-2 despite Juan Soto's first 2 Apple Jacks at Citi Field. The pride of West Lynn, Tim Tawa, with a home run for Arizona in the win. White Sox shut out the Brewers 8-0. The Reds all over the Cards 9-1, and the A's just finished off the Rangers 3-0. And the Winterhawks trying to avoid the sweep at the hands of the Spokane Chiefs tonight. Puck drops at 7 o'clock at the VMC. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
It's not your problem, Doc. You don't have to mix up in this.
That is a hell of a thing for you to say to me.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, skin it. Skin that smoke wagon and see what happens.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
I'm your huckleberry.
The Fan.
Hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty on a Thursday afternoon. Whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for hanging out with us this wonderful Thursday. Beautiful Thursday in the Portland metro area.
So nice.
And there's this discussion that's going on in NBA circles right now, in league offices, media, agents. I think outside of like the transactional stuff, it's one of the biggest questions currently being discussed. And it's this idea of, is the NBA actually changing, or is it just, are we just doing this because of how teams are right now and where things sit? Is this a force of the CBA? But the idea of the NBA for basically ever has been, they are what is described as a strong link sport. And I want to preface this because there's people actually have written on this. There was a book in 2011 called The Numbers Game, and this comes from Soccer Analytics. And these 2 authors, Chris Anderson and David Salady, they describe the key differences between sports like basketball and soccer, where basketball, at least at this point in time, in 2011, was a strong link sport, meaning typically the team with the best overall player in a series was going to win a matchup.
No doubt about it.
In soccer, it was a weak link sport, because you have more space and there's more areas and avenues to attack. And if you've got somebody who is distinctly weaker, that is the thing that you're going to try to exploit. And it's harder to stop that exploitation from happening because of the space and the opportunities that soccer affords. However, the framework is kind of shifted, because in postseason basketball, if you have a player who has defensive deficiencies, you are hunted mercilessly.
Luka Doncic last night against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
If you've got that guy on the floor, this is what they're going to do. Like, look at what the Pistons are doing to Cat. Okay, they're the Cade Duran pick and roll in the series right now. I think it's 1.55 or 1.56 points per possession when Jalen Duran rolls, otherwise known as the best pick and roll pairing in the league.
Yeah, buddy.
When it is Mitchell Robinson defending, it drops to like 0.56, the worst pick and roll pairing.
Dog.
That is the separation defensively. Now, Cat makes up for it on the offensive end, where Mitchell Robinson is only going to get you offensive rebounds, putbacks, things of that nature. But that is a very stark comparison when you're talking about strongest link versus weakest link. The Knicks are making the choice to keep Cat on the floor because the net average is X. Now, I'm not boiling it down to that. There's more to it than that because Cat can pass out of the post. He can space the floor. Like, there's more intrinsic things coming out to it. But when you boil it down to the analytics of it all, when you're looking over the scope of a 7-game series, those margins, if they're that wide, it is a real issue. And now with the way the CBA has kind of set things up and how teams have to be structured, this is why it looks like we're moving away from the 3-star era. Because yes, you could have the 3 stars, but if you don't have Ray Allen, who's not one of those stars, or yes, it's LeBron and Wade and Chris Bosh, but one of your weak links is Ray freaking Allen, who even in his twilight years, still really good.
Or like Big Shot Bob. Even when you look at the Warriors teams that were winning championships, it was the role players that kind of raised their floor up. And that's where this is the interesting conversation, is that your strong links versus your weak links. Your strong links can dictate how high your ceiling is.
Yes.
But your weak links raise your floor up
or lower it
to where you have or lower it to where, all right, you want to always have that high ceiling because of your star, but you want that window to be tight.
Yes.
You do not want it to have the big chasm. That's what you saw with the Lakers. You saw, and that's it honestly is. It's what we're seeing with the Warriors now too. Because they don't have that depth that they
have no real effective size.
And so that window is that much bigger, so matchups mean that much more. And like a bona fide dyed-in-the-wool championship contender, look at the Boston Celtics, for example. That is a team where it's a really high ceiling, so you're moving your scale up because you have the Jays, but your floor is raised up because of guys like Peyton Pritchard.
Because
Al Horford.
Yeah.
I don't know how that man is still doing this. He was on the back-to-back national championship teams at Florida in 2007, 2008. And he is still giving – are they the minutes he used to give? But it's that floor-raising minutes that he gives to where he's not a liability. And liabilities kill you in the NBA now because of the way that you have the second apron, or you have both of the aprons, and then you have inflated salaries that make it really tough to build a complete roster.
I just want to highlight this. We talked about the 2007 NFL draft and how it might be one of the best we've ever seen. I want to read for you the top of the 2007 NBA draft.
Okay.
Greg Oden, which obviously that one hurts. Kevin Durant, Al Horford, Mike Conley, Jeff Green.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. And how many of those guys are still playing right now?
all-
Jeff Green just...
No, he's still playing.
He's still playing?
He's still playing. Uncle Jeff, he's still playing.
Oh, that's right. He's in was he where was he at this year? I remember I just saw his name pop
Houston.
up. Houston. That's where it is. Wow.
I mean,
That's incredible.
that is look, Greg's injuries notwithstanding, that's about as good as a top 5 you'll ever have.
Yeah. Hot damn. He's 38 years old.
Still going.
Wow.
Still going. Now, the next pick in that draft, Yi Jian Lian.
Well,
Oops.
can't win them all.
Oops. Think about this. KD, Horford, Conley, Green.
He's played 2 minutes in the playoffs.
17, 18, 18, and 17
And
years.
they were Jeff Green got on the floor last night, but Cam Whitmore didn't. That tells you something.
I'll tell you right now, Jeff Green, immaculate vibes guy.
Oh, good.
Immaculate vibes guy.
I like that about him.
He is professionalism and vibes. There's another guy that's on this list, no longer in the league, in Joakim Noah, who was taken 9th by the Bulls. He had
That's an incredible draft,
13
man.
years. So yeah, that's your top 9 picks. Before him, you had Brandon Wright and Corey Brewer.
Hot damn! Like that's an incredible draft for the NBA.
Those are your top 9 picks.
2007, the
You had-
year of the draft.
You had one just complete whiff in Yi, but otherwise. But back to the strongest link versus weakest link.
Yes.
There's some interesting discussion points in this because you look at this and you go, you have to get to a certain threshold on the strongest links. You have to. You can't just run 10 deep hockey line shift and just hope and pray.
No.
That's kind of what the Grizzlies have done to an extent. Like when Jaw can't be truly great,
when he's suspended,
Desmond regressed a little bit. Jaron was very good this year, but he has his shortcomings on the glass. So you have to kind of work around those things.
I mean, like we can call it what it is. The Portland Trailblazers are that. I mean, that they do not have a star.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of solid role players all over the floor. They play a lot of guys because the variance isn't that dramatic between your starters and the drop off to your twos, but we see where that gets you.
Yes. But that volatility with the floor, that is the issue because let's just say the Lakers, let's just for giggles, let's just give them DeAndre Ayton for this experiment. You still don't have depth.
You don't have no.
And DA, don't get me wrong, DA can play 38 minutes. Like that's like if there's one thing about DA, he can give you minutes. Like there's no doubt about that.
Speaking of that, just minutes eaters. The one guy that I kind of went, you didn't even roll him out there, and this goes back to what coaches feel about guys. Alex Len did not even touch the floor in any way, shape, or form for the Lakers.
Yeah.
And they desperately needed a big,
Size.
and they were just like, no.
But that's what I'm talking about. When the weakest link is so weak, and I think that's probably how we have to start talking about title contenders in the NBA.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to meet a certain threshold. I think the Knicks are a really good experiment for this. Jalen Brunson isn't an MVP, but he's a top 10 player in the league.
Yes.
Top 12 at worst.
Yes.
He's very good. But he has real defensive deficiencies because of his size. Now, you insulate him by having one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire league in OG Anunoby, another one of the great perimeter defenders in the league in Mikal Bridges.
And one thing that you know is that he's going to give you effort and physicality.
Yeah. And then you've got a guy like Josh Hart, and yes, you've got Kat, and you've got Mitchell Robinson. But when one of those pieces comes out, i.e. Jalen Brunson, what happens to that team? How good are they?
Not good at all.
And then you can say that about any star in the NBA, but there's that insulation is not there. Like the creation is not there. And I don't know how much I truly believe that this is totally changing or if it's a bit of a hiccup in the dynamic of the NBA. But it's got not just me, but a lot of people around the league questioning if that's the way, because you see things set up in a CBA. CBAs kind of define eras. How many teams are going to zig and how many are going to zag? How many are going to front load their roster? How many are going to go deep? Because as much as everybody talks about the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, let's see where they are in 2 years when those contracts start hitting and what choices they make.
Well, that's a good thing about having 11 draft picks.
Is that you can keep trying to kick that can and figure some stuff out, or you say, screw it, we're going to do both and have really good, cheap, young talent, and we're also going to go trade for Giannis.
Yeah. Or, move up in a draft for a team that needs so much help and you have holes to fill. And you're like, well, you can give them a few picks and we can just move up.
So it's an interesting spot to be. Coming up next, we didn't.
I like that conversation a lot, though.
It's something to monitor.
It's probably the single biggest change in the NBA that was not an on the court rule, but the CBA, the second apron, and the way that the contracts are. We've talked about this before. Wemby will make $100 million a year.
Yes, when he comes up for his supermax at the end of year 9, he won't make $100 million.
That is not feasible for roster building and complete rosters.
And we'll see where that goes. Coming up next, we will dive into 2 of those elimination games that we do have tonight with teams that are going to have to answer that question. I think we're going to get some more data out of it. We'll get that next here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. The basketball has the potential to be very, 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 very good tonight. You have two potential elimination games with the Knicks and Pistons at 4:30 and the Nuggets and Clippers following at 7 o'clock. The Knicks lead the series 3-2. The Nuggets up 3-2 over the Clippers. When you look at these games and you consider the discussion that we just had about the strongest versus weakest links, does that kind of shape how you're viewing these games? Because it's something I'm going to be watching intently. Because when I look at the Pistons, and this may be counterintuitive, I don't look at them as having the weakest link in this series. I think their floor might be a little bit higher, but their ceiling not quite as high as the Knicks.
Absolutely, because of what you talked about with Brunson being one of the top 10 players in the NBA, but deficiencies in depth, it's hurt the Knicks, and it hurts Tibbs almost every year because we talk about him running guys into the ground in the regular season. That really hasn't been the case this year, but when Brunson is dinged up and nicked up with that ankle injury that he suffered back in game 5, that's going to play a role, man, and you need your floor to be higher. But what the Pistons have done to sprinkle in vets this year has raised their floor exponentially. And you can see it in playoff basketball where those guys have experience. They've been there before, and they've done it before.
You look at guys like Caden Duran, and Asar Thompson, who was phenomenal last game. They're young guys. It's their first time there. It's like, you got Tobias Harris. He's been in a lot of playoff series. Dennis Schroeder has been in a lot of playoff series. Malik Beasley has been in those situations. Like, you've got Tim Hardaway Jr., even though he's been either a zero or a hero, has been good for, they've got guys they can fall back on.
Well, yeah, you look at it, I'm just going down the roster right now, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 guys 24 and under. Okay. But 33-year-old Tim Hardaway Jr. been in deep runs in the playoffs.
Is he really 33?
32-year-old Tobias Harris, 31-year-old Dennis Schroeder, 28-year-old Malik Beasley. These guys have been through the ringer. And that goes a long way when you're talking about how you can raise the floor in a playoff series, calm nerves, and be stabilizing forces in playoff series. And then look, I think people forget, B-Ball Paul is on that team. Paul Reed, B-Ball Paul is on
dinged up,
the team.
He's got to be out there too.
I love B-Ball Paul.
The idea of B-Ball Paul I think is a lot better than what usually transpires, but
no, that's what I love is the idea of him being on the floor. He's one of those
he's an analytics darling. His on-off stuff has been bonkers for most of his career because his spurts have been so short.
And if you don't know who B-Ball Paul is, he played for the 76ers.
Paul Reed.
He's not a journeyman because he's only been on 2 teams, but it took him a while to find any footing. And his Twitter handle was quite literally B-Ball Paul growing up.
Makes sense.
That's the nickname.
I
love him. He's just a lunch pail guy.
Yeah.
You need lunch pail guys.
Oh, you do, especially in the playoffs. And you look at the other matchup between the Nuggets and the Clippers, when you talk about the high floor or the high ceiling, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Norm Powell, you look at that team and the firepower that they can have. I'm also reminded to point this out. James Harden has 26 games in his playoff career with more turnovers than field goals made.
I saw that stat last night, and that blew my mind. Then I went back and I was like, it's like the Alonzo Mourning gif where he's on the Heat bench going,
shaking his head. No, then
yeah, it does make sense.
He does have the NBA record for most turnovers in a playoff game with 14.
Yeah, it's hard to make that many field goals.
14. That is such an insane number.
It's also hard to turn the ball over that many times.
That's why it's an NBA record.
Yeah. You're really trying. But the floor on that Clippers team, though, that you're talking about,
it can drop out the bottom.
But it can also be one of the highest in the entire playoffs.
The volatility with that team. Remember, this is Game 6. Where does James Harden disappear the most?
Game 6.
He has a chance to really right some wrongs.
And being at home has never mattered. His worst playoff performances in Houston were in Houston.
Melting down against the Warriors.
Yeah. Oof. Yikes. But they also, when you talk about the floor, so this is what we're talking about. Norm Powell, okay?
Mhm.
Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Who's getting real minutes.
Yeah, but the volatility is there.
Oh, yeah.
But he's a floor raiser when he's engaged and in. Nick Batum, where, again, volatility, but he's aging, wily old vet who knocks down a 3 or 2 for you. Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr., and Bogdan Bogdanovic.
And if you look at the Clipper or the Nuggets side of things,
that's crazy.
It's Russell Westbrook. Good Russ versus bad Russ can win or lose you a game.
And that's it, by the way.
Yeah, the depth beyond that, like they gave Peyton Watson 13 minutes, which was, please don't lose these minutes by 20 points so we can get everybody else back in. Everybody killed J.J. Redick for playing his Lakers the entire second half of a game. Look, David Adelman probably would like to if he could. But Michael Porter Jr. is dealing with his shoulder. Jamal Murray has got a whole sort of ailments. Jokic can go until his horses come home. Like he's a Terminator. That's not an issue. But like you've got other guys that you've just got to be able to buy minutes for. And it's going to that war of attrition at the bottom is, to me, what's going to decide that game tonight.
Saving legs is for January.
Yep.
It's not for April, May, or June.
And with that, coming up next, J.J. Redick is getting his first postseason season over press conference, and going into the game last night, it didn't exactly go well. We'll get to that next. But first, here's the Big Kuno Sports Center update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. The Pistons looking to force a Game 7. They host the Knicks. 4:30 tip on TNT and Max. The Pistons are 1.5-point favorites. Then 7 o'clock on TNT and Max as well. The Clippers 6.5-point favorites. They're also looking for a Game 7, hosting the Nuggets. Coverage of that game can be heard on 910 ESP in Portland starting at 6:30. The Mariners have won 14 of their last 18 and each of their last 7 series. They sit 2 games ahead of the Astros for the American League West lead. Off today as they hit the road for stops in Arlington and Sacramento. That takes us to getaway day in the Bigs. One game still technically underway, I guess. They're in a delay in Cleveland in the top of the 8th. The Twins and Guardians are tied at 2 apiece. All the finals from the day, mainly a bunch of butt whoopings. The Cubs beat the Pirates 8-3. Royals over the Rays 8-2. Diamondbacks over the Mets 4-2. That despite Juan Soto's first 2 Apple Jacks at Citi Field. And the pride of Westland, Tim Chawa, with a home run for Arizona in that win. The White Sox shut out the Brewers 8-0. Reds all over the Cards 9-1, and the A's finished off the Rangers 3-0. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
It's back. The 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club happens Tuesday, June 24th. Presented by your local Toyota dealers. Reserve your foursome now at 1080thefan.com.
Los Angeles Lakers were mercy killed last night by the Minnesota Timberwolves. The gentleman's sweep 4-1. And J.J. Redick and the Lakers are going to go into their first offseason together with him as head coach, and a lot of changes that need to be made. If you listen to the broadcast last night, Reggie Miller, and I heard this from other media members coming into the game, that J.J. was acting kind of crazy. And now, if you know anything about J.J. Redick, he's a psychopath.
Yeah, he is.
Like, when you talk about, like, guys, like, there's a sliding scale of guys who look at film and analytics and where they value them and how, like, J.J. values both, like, the umpteenth degree. The tape doesn't lie. Like, if you watch, what was it, the Clipped series, the FX series on Donald Sterling and the Clippers, and they had a character in there that was playing J.J. Redick, and they made, like, a little note about, don't interrupt JJ at 4:30 because that's when he gets a sandwich. And make sure that sandwich is always ready. He is a freak when it comes to routine and maintenance. Like, what's the name of his company? 342? That was the number of shots that he would take every warm-up session. And it was the same shots from the same location in the same process every way, every single time. This is one of the most regimented humans on the face of the planet. And if you watch this series of the Lakers, it was the least regimented, structured thing. Like, he was just trying anything and everything because they didn't have an answer. And it kind of falls back to the whole strongest link, weakest link discussion that we had earlier. And Reggie Miller was like, I basically had to tell JJ to calm down, dude.
Yeah.
Because he was just acting crazy. And as we were getting into the memorial season, as it were, and the ad hoc analysis of the Lakers, in not only in this series, but JJ's coaching, and it's funny. I'm watching Lakers fans freak out about him not playing Jackson Hayes, and I'm like, that's what we're doing here, huh?
We need to play him. We need to play him and Alex Len.
It shows you that no matter the market, no matter the stars, no matter what the circumstance, the fans will blame the coach first, no matter what, always, forever, henceforth. I still will never truly understand it. But he's not getting crucified today, but he's getting kind of dog walked.
Well, Brian Windhorst did.
Yeah.
And I don't mean this in a personal way. J.J. Redick coached very immaturely in this series. He was still seething and upset about the previous games, to the point where Reggie Miller said on the broadcast last night he had to try to calm him down in the pregame meeting because J.J. was acting, frankly, childishly. He walked off and stormed off in the pregame session with reporters. Regardless of the question, it's not the way to start. And then not only did he double down on his, frankly, irrational decision not to substitute for an entire half in a playoff game, he doubled down on that. And then in this game, he played a guy who hadn't played in 3 months ahead of centers that he had on his roster. He played Maxi Kleber. He had never even practiced with the Lakers. Maxi Kleber's on the court with 5 minutes to go in like a 2-possession game. That is not a rational decision. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't even know if Mark Williams was on this team, whether JJ would have played him. And that's just not, I suspect in retrospect, JJ will realize he didn't put the Lakers in the best position to win.
I don't agree with the back part of that from Windhorst, because I think that it just showed over the course of the series before last night, the first 4 games showed J.J. Redick, and I don't blame him for it, is that, all right, it's desperation time, and our bigs are no help to us, and they haven't been.
You're not winning those minutes, and you're not even not winning those minutes, you're losing them, and you're not getting the gain out of them that you can kind of squint and see it.
Even in the one win, he was furious about it. But, J.J. Redick, and I thought this is one of the good things about Old Man in the Three when he had his old podcast. Mm-hmm. One thing that they talked about a lot with players, and J.J. went into a ton, was the mental health stuff and the stresses of playing in the NBA and what it can do to you when you're in it all the time and everybody hates you, right? And it just seems like nobody is on your side. And how J.J. Redick's talked about this several times, like the years of therapy that he goes through to try to handle those pressures and what comes down on you as a player. Now he's seeing it on the other side of it as a coach. And it's different because he was like the golden boy coach at the beginning of this thing, where there was a ton of pressure because he's a LeBron James coach, had no experience doing it. but the expectations were through the roof. And now you get Luka Doncic, it ratchets up a little bit more. But he knows the fatal flaws of the team, so what are you supposed to do when you have a fatal flaw and you can't correct it? Because you are a coach and you can only have the pieces that are around you. And you see that pressure, whether it was after the win that they had in this series or the pregame press conference yesterday where he stormed out because he was sick of talking about the same stuff over and over again.
There is an adage that I have heard from, I don't even know how many executives, and it's this. Building the team is so much fun. The process of like figuring stuff out and is this going to work? Can we make this work? Can we develop this guy a little bit more? Can we get more out of this? If we make this transaction, what does this do? And how does this impact this, that? It's the board game, the video game of it all. Like, how does it all fit together? What sucks is when you have to win because of all of the pressures and everything. And I'm not saying that as in a negative term, but like Bob Myers has said, like that's the reason he got out of the game. Now he also left the Warriors with the bag and was like, good luck, guys. Because he saw the writing on the wall of guys getting older and the two timelines and the transactions and a meddlesome owner, the new CBA and all that kind of stuff, which kind of also points to the Phoenix Suns have made it higher, promoting internally, moving James Jones into an senior advisory role because Bob Myers told him no. That for everybody wondering, that's what happened.
He was supposed to go there. That was the big rumor, was that he's going to take over that front office.
But he looked at that and went, you have no draft assets. Your star or one of your stars is 37-year-old Kevin Durant, who wants out, and you've got an albatross contract in Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker is probably going to be knocking on the door here real soon saying, I want out, and I don't want to oversee that S show.
Yep.
And now you've got JJ Redick, and Rob Pelinka just got a new extension because he was the guy who just happened to have a relationship that made sense and got gifted Luka Doncic, which, yeah, I guess if you're Jeannie Buss, you probably go, if we don't have him, do we get that deal? Now all of a sudden the clock, not that it wasn't already ticking, now it's really ticking. And JJ's going to feel that pressure and everything that comes along with it because of all of the other stuff. And like, this is what I always say, like, there has never been a coach ever that hasn't won without great players.
Fact.
Does not happen in the NBA. You can talk about the collection of the whole and all that kind of stuff and the, plucky underdogs of like the New York Giants knocking off an undefeated Patriots team. They still had a host of incredible players, but that's a different sport.
But then you go to the NBA adage of, you need the stars to win. You need the players to win. But the coach's biggest hurdle is you have to have the respect of your players to win a championship. You can't get the respect of your players unless you have a championship. And that's the hardest part about coaching in the NBA. And that, like, I think having LeBron on his side was really good at the beginning. But as the playoffs wore on and as the end of the season wore on, do you think that this was a shot at Luka Doncic? This is JJ Redick today during the exit interviews.
I think I'll start with the offseason and the work that's required in an offseason to be in championship shape. And, we have a ways to go as a roster. And certainly there are individuals that were in phenomenal shape. There's certainly other ones that could have been in better shape. That's where my mind goes immediately is we have to get in championship shape.
Where have we heard that before? If you could not hear it, JJ Redick is saying we need to be in championship shape, and it is the offseason we need to be in shape.
Look, if Luka's ever going to do it, it's looking across the locker room. The guy that spends $1 million plus on his body every year.
I don't know how much he spends on the hookahs.
Well,
might be $1 million.
Better be some good pipe action there.
That's going to your body.
Yeah. But that guy across the locker room does everything. And look, Luka's was, for as much as the whole Luka gave up this, that, and whatever defensively, go look at what he did offensively in this series. He was incredible. He was unfreaking believable. That's what he is. But it also leaves you wanting because of how good he is but how good he should be.
Because the athleticism is there to play defense.
And look, he doesn't have to be an all-world defender.
Nope.
He just has to not be hunted. Like that's what people make this big deal about him having 25 dunks or 23 dunks his rookie year and only having 2 this year. And it's like, I don't care if he plays below the rim. When you're talking about 20-ish dunks, you're talking about a game every 4 nights. Like that's never been his game. I will tell you this. It's so fun to talk to young Blazers players the first time they play player X. And I remember talking to a couple of young guys over the last couple of years after they play Luka, because he's always one of those guys that I'm like, I want to ask guys, not on record, just like, hey, what was it like playing Luka? Every single one of them goes, that dude is so strong.
He is.
Like his ability to just move you out of the way. He doesn't even look like he's doing it, and you just get uprooted. Like he's country strong in the space. His ability to stop and create, it's just otherworldly. And
isn't that the marker of great defenders, though, too?
Yeah. The ability to anticipate, be strong in your positioning, and it's like if he just does the Jokic thing, he doesn't have to look like Tumani. Just get in shape.
Well, and this is the thing. Luka is going to wear on LeBron if he doesn't commit to that. And a pissed off LeBron, it doesn't matter how good you are, Luka looked gassed.
He did it to Kevin Love. So
he looked gassed.
Wouldn't surprise me. All right, when we come back, we're going to keep it in the NBA world. I want to give number 1, Rudy Gobert, a little bit of love because Lord knows he gets crapped on. And then take a look at these games tonight and see if we believe any of these series are going to come to a close. Danny and Dusty, today, the Fan. Rudy Gobert gets killed for a lot of things. He deserves some love for what he did last night. Yes, he was playing against guys that had no business being out there and guarding him for long possessions. But he put up a Wilt Chamberlain stat line and absolutely beat the living crap out of the Lakers last night.
Say what you want about LeBron James, but when LeBron James looks befuddled when he's trying to move somebody and defend somebody, I tip my hat. And LeBron James, there were a couple times he literally threw up his hands, and it wasn't like a "What are you guys doing around me?" It was a
"What the hell do you want me to do?"
What am I supposed to do here? Rudy Gobert was a man amongst boys last night, and 27 points, 24 rebounds,
9 offensive.
He was everything that everyone had hoped Rudy Gobert would be at some point in his career. And having a playoff game like that, pretty good time to do it.
Yeah, not a bad place for a point of reference. The Lakers had 8 total offensive rebounds.
And he had 9 by himself.
Do we extend series in both games? Do we extend series in one game or 2 teams going home tonight?
Let's see. We got Detroit hosting the Knicks with a chance for the Knicks to send the Pistons packing.
And the Pistons haven't won at home yet.
I think that the one goes 7.
Yeah.
I think it goes 7.
And
I
then,
want that one to go 7.
And then Denver, LA.
I think the Clippers end it. I think the Clippers end it tonight.
You think Clippers lay an egg?
No, I think they end it tonight.
Well, they're down.
Oh, they're down?
They're down 3-2.
I thought they were up 3-2.
No, Nuggets 3-2.
Oh, no.
Going 7?
Going 7.
All right,
I think we're going to have 2 game 7s.
2 game 7s.
Why did I think they had... Nah. I think they're going to extend it.
On the run of play, it feels like the Clippers should be up 3-2. Yeah. That's why.
Yeah. No, I think we get a game 7. I think it's heading back to Denver.
I do believe Detroit is going to win, and I think that's going 7.
Let's go.
Game 6, Jim Harden is just weighing on me. It is weighing on me. Because all of the data, all of the history, everything tells you he is going to lay an egg of epic proportions.
Yeah. I think we should call it Jim Harden when he...
Oh, yeah, no, he's 100% Jim Harden.
I think it should be a James Harden lay an egg game. Those are Jim Harden games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It weighs on me. I don't trust it.
I picked the Clippers to win this series, but 2 games that should have gone your way didn't. And usually 1 is enough to spell you. 2 is usually the end of you.
Yeah.
And then your back is against the wall with Jim Harden game 6. I'm going to take the Nuggets here.
Oh! I'd be happy. I'd be happy for David Adelman. I hope David Adelman gets a crack at being a head coach. I think for a guy who's stepping in on an interim basis, he's done a really damn good job with limited resources in Denver right now.
I'd be pretty surprised if he wasn't the head coach when it's all said and done, even if they ended up losing the series.
Let's go.
So there you go.
All right. That does it for us. Thursday, check mark. If you missed our interview with Dick Girardi, Kentucky Derby, great interview. One of the horses we talked about, Rodriguez, has been scratched. Baez stepping in. Rodriguez going to run in the Preakness, though. So that leaves Bob Baffert with 1 horse in the Kentucky Derby, Citizen Bull, which drew the rail. So it's got to run from the inside. All right, that'll do it for us. Up next, you got 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears. It's prime time. I think it's just Rop and Buck today.
Hey-o.
Hey, have a great Thursday. We'll see you Friday right here on The Fan.
Bye. All you've got is like this thing like reaching up underneath you, kind of cupping you.
No time for a traditional in-ground vegetable garden? Mr. Plywood stocks all kinds of cedar for building your own raised beds. And the experts at Mr. Plywood can even give you advice and tips so that you can enjoy fresh homegrown vegetables all summer long. Serving the greater Portland area for over 50 years.